We are Mike and Mike, and if the airplanes cooperate, we will be heading out of Fort Worth today after what's been a fun week for us. But this week was less about us than it was about some new friends that we have made. If you were with us all fall, you heard our promotion where we brought some winners with us down here to the national championship game, and we had the great opportunity to meet them yesterday. We all had a nice breakfast together. Then they went to see Sting last night, and we didn't.
How about it?
So they've had a much better week than we did.
Way better week than we've had.
But from Atlanta, Josh was our winner, and he brought his wife Laura. And from Michigan, Milton was our winner, and he brought his brother Kenny. Milton was representing Oregon, and Josh was representing Ohio State. So they were our winners. They got a huge trip down here, and hopefully we'll have a wonderful experience.
They were going back to their hotel room. There'd be gifts waiting for them. I'm like, you guys get treated way better than we do. It's fantastic.
And we had a nice breakfast together yesterday. Josh and Laura have a baby at home.
10-month-old, I believe.
So they're delirious to be down here with some free time. Milton, meanwhile, is married and has multiple siblings.
Yes.
So you want to talk about a challenging circumstance.
So the wife, who he said is not really a college football fan, so he didn't feel bad about that one. But there's Kenny, and then there's, what, 4 other siblings? 4 others? So, and he
had some choices to make.
Well, but he said Kenny and I are the closest. So that's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's out there now.
And he has demonstrated it in deed as well as word.
Yes.
I've won this trip to the college football national championship game. I'm bringing Kenny.
Yeah, he's my favorite brother. That's a tough call.
You usually don't get that kind of statement until the reading of the will. Yeah. That's when these things usually become that clear. So anyway, but we're thrilled that you're all here.
Absolutely.
We thank you for being a part of our contest, and I hope it's a wonderful experience tonight.
Yeah.
Look, they went to Sting last night.
And we didn't.
And we didn't. They're going to the game tonight, and we're not. Who's got it better than them?
Kidding me?
We're live in Fort Worth, and we continue in 10 seconds.
Jealous.
Sometimes saying ayo.
Mike and Mike, as we continue live in Fort Worth, I see the most excited man in all of Texas this morning in my sight. Chris Carter has entered the room. He will be live with us up here on our set in 15 minutes. And you know he's ready for some football tonight. The Buckeyes are playing for a national championship, which means CC is going to be excited. And obviously,
there goes Freeman. Touchdown, Oregon. Ball game. Oregon puts a statement on it.
This is a big win, but now it just makes the next game that much bigger.
The 2 ranking on the line tonight against the feisty Washington State Cougar team.
As a unit, offensively, we did a great job of just kind of battling back and executed well in the second half.
The pass, the touchdown, and the Ducks regain the lead.
They survive and advance.
I'm Oregon right now. I got my foot on the pedal here, trying to go. You've got them reeling.
Mariota on the slant, low into the end zone, touchdown Ducks, and we're an extra point away from being tied. Handoff into the end zone, and Arizona's up by a touch.
Mariota on a play fake, steps up, hit from behind, and tackle.
Marcus Mariota and the Ducks go down.
He's the best player in college football, and it's not debatable right now. This is your stage, man. Give him the rock and let's see if he can earn it.
Mariota scrambling left. He can push to the end zone. Touchdown. Mariota wants to throw. Carrington, touchdown. And it's over. Oregon earns the Pac-12 championship.
The wait is over. The playoff is here.
If you're not ready for the Rose Bowl in the playoff, you might not have a pulse. Mariota makes a completion on the far side, and running free is Darren Carrington.
We knew going in that our tempo can be a weapon. We kind of feel that way in every game.
Carrington's second touchdown in short order from 56 and now 30 yards.
Spins back to his right, slips and falls, and the ball comes out of his hand. It's picked up by Tony Washington, who's going to run it back for a touchdown.
Is that the Ducks' dagger?
I'll tell you something, Florida State's quit.
34 unanswered points turn a close game into a beatdown.
You know, all we want to do is come in and win and get ready for the national championship.
We'll see the Ducks on display tonight. The mega cast returning to ESPN for the College Football Playoff National Championship. 12 different ways to follow the game. You can check out it, the ESPN Film Room on ESPN2. Analysts and coaches providing in-depth analysis during the game. I love that inside look. Meanwhile on ESPNU, how about this? a cross-section of on-air personalities from outside the college football world. Jay Billis, Barry Melrose, Michael Wilbon. Guarantee you'll be a lot smarter after watching that broadcast. Available tonight, 8:30 Eastern Time.
We're live all day in Arlington, Texas, as the day dawns on the first ever College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T's The Stadium at the Ready. 2015 as we crown the champ. Will it be for the first time ever in the history of their program, the Oregon Ducks, or will it be for the first time since 2002, the Ohio State Buckeyes? Urban Meyer looking for his third national championship. And, well, this stadium is here in all its glory. No bigger or better stage for this game. Hannah Storm and Kevin Nagandi with you, as we will be all day long. And it's spectacular, isn't it? You had never been in here, and it's mind-boggling.
We walked in at 3 a.m. East local time, I should say, and that big screen TV is unbelievable. 60 yards long. I don't know how you're focusing on the players on the field. You're just going to go back up in HD to watch the action as SportsCenter continues on the road here.
And you need it with some of the seats here, right? So you can fit 100,000 plus, but if you figure if you're all the way up top, you got something great to watch.
And by the way, if you're at home, we got you covered too, leading up to the game as we are inside 12 hours away from kickoff. And live coverage continues at the hotels of both teams. Tom Rinaldi is with the Buckeyes. Sam Ponder is with the Ducks. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Kevin. You can probably hear the noise behind me. The fans are starting to gather, hoping to catch a glimpse of some of the Ducks before they leave for the stadium later today. But yesterday, of course, was the last practice ever for a very close-knit group of guys. But I'm told that at practice, it wasn't mentioned, that no one was emotional, no sentimentality, and that is in part because of the red shirt seniors that are the leaders on this team that specifically remember that 2011 national championship game against Auburn. Guys like Coronis Grasu and Keenan Lowe that told me that week of practice was the best week of practice they'd ever had. Then they showed up to the game overthinking everything, over-processing, just playing really tight, something they experienced again this year against Arizona. But since then, everything has changed. Guys just playing, trying to have fun out there, what they would describe as loose but serious and trusting their instincts, something that their head coach, Mark Helfrich, has been preaching nonstop, and I'm sure we'll do again today. We'll actually hear from Mark in a couple of hours, talk to him about those final preparations for game day. But as we now head over to the Buckeyes camp with Tom Rinaldi. Tom, how's it going over there?
Good morning to you, Sam. Last night it was bed check at 9:45 p.m. local, lights out sharply at 10 o'clock. Plenty of sleep on the schedule for the Buckeyes before the biggest game of their lives. The official wake-up call for the players doesn't still come for more than an hour, 9:15 local. Afterward, the Buckeyes doing everything they can to try to follow a typical game day routine when that game is held at night. That means a breakfast followed by some team meetings, and if the weather is nice enough, coaching staff will make a decision. The team will go through a bit of a walkthrough outside, offensively and defensively. May be difficult considering just how many people are here in this hotel trying to cheer on the Buckeyes. After that, back to their rooms and a mandated rest period to get off their feet. They reconvene for some more meetings, a team meal, and then the team gathers for a short video presentation, the last thing they do before they get on the buses to head to AT&T Stadium. Typically, that video presentation, less than 10 minutes in length. Positive plays to put the players in a positive frame of mind. But there will be one difference in this video presentation. As opposed to just seeing quality plays, there'll be one image that'll be repeated. Images of the national championship trophy, so that the prize is in mind as the players board these buses, Kevin.
Tom, Sam, thank you so much. So what's it like the day of? This guy certainly knows the feeling as a head coach heading in, and this is Gus Malzahn of Auburn. And a year ago, as you're getting ready on this big day, what was it like waking up that morning and preparing for a game like this?
Well, you try to keep it as normal as possible. You get up, you go over the game plan again, you get with your staff. You want to make sure in a big game that you got everything prepared. If it's 4th down and 1, you want to make sure you know what you're going to call, so you don't make an emotional decision, you make an educated decision. But you try to keep it as normal as possible, but it's not normal.
How would you describe your nerves? Did you get any sleep the night before?
Yeah, it's a big game. Any big game, you get ready. You got your routine. But usually once you get to, your team breakfast, you start to get in a routine, you can settle down and kind of really get in a rhythm.
You know the style and pacing because you've faced Oregon before in the past. What can you tell Ohio State in preparation for this, especially their defense with a frenetic pace, 16 seconds on the field on a play, and then moving on?
I'll tell you what, Oregon does a great job with their pace, and they do a very good job mixing it up. A lot of pace teams just run the football, but they mix in the run and the pass, and once they get that initial first down, they're tough to deal with.
Is there one thing looking back that you would change the day of the game in preparation?
Really, I felt very good about it. I think you got to have your team fresh. I mean, it's late in the season. You don't want to do too much. You want to make sure your team's prepared, and I really felt like we were prepared. And, our guys were confident. I mean, obviously we came out a little bit short on the end of the score, but really felt good about our preparation.
Unique aspect, too, here because you have less than 12 days to get ready.
Yeah.
In previous years, you had 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
How has that changed the concept for a coach in getting ready for another team?
I think it actually helps you, because you used to it was 30-some days, and, man, you think about so many, you dissect everything, but, the shorter the time, you're used to a routine about getting ready for 7 days. So, you add a few days to it, I think it's a good thing.
Gus, much has been made about SEC and the dominance and the speed. We saw a different story with Ohio State against Alabama. When you watched that game from the Buckeyes, what did you see that could translate to success here?
Tell you what, I was very impressed because, Alabama's got great talent at every position. And the way they were able to move the football was really impressive. And really the thing that stands out to me is they're playing with their third quarterback, which really blows my mind because I know how hard it is to get your second quarterback prepared, especially against a good opponent. But that's a credit to their offensive staff, and they're putting their quarterback in, positive situations.
What's the one thing you're most looking forward to tonight?
Well, of course, I'm an offensive guy. I'm looking forward to offense. I'm looking forward to watching these quarterbacks, specifically the Oregon quarterback. I just think he's special. I really think he's just phenomenal. But really, in a game like this, 2010, everybody was talking about Cam Newton, our offense, Oregon's offense. It was 22-19. So there's a good chance, it could come down to, who plays the best defense.
Gus, what makes Marcus Mariota special when you watch him on tape?
Well, he does everything well. He runs the football. He's very efficient throwing the football. And the moment's not too big. He's just a smooth operator and just very impressive.
I mentioned him before. He doesn't turn over the football.
Doesn't turn the football over, especially in big games. That's huge.
And that's music to your ears as a coach.
No doubt.
Gus, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Gus Malzahn, Auburn head coach, as we get you set for Oregon and Alabama. Excuse me, not Alabama. Oregon and Ohio State tonight, the national championship. Hannah?
Hey, it's sleep deprivation. We were here at 2:30 in the morning, for goodness sake.
Get to more of your phone calls, best and worst of the weekend. What you saw that you liked, you didn't like. We'll give you ours as well. He's Pat Forty from Yahoo Sports, covering the national title game. How big a loss was this for Oregon, losing their best wide receiver?
It's a big loss. It's just another loss, really, I think, as much as anything, Dan. They've got great numbers at the receiver position, but they lost Devin Allen, a really good wide receiver, on the first play of the Rose Bowl. They lose Darren Carrington. They lost their best tight end a couple of months ago. They lost one of their top receivers last spring when he blew out a knee. So it's like, how far down the depth chart can you go before you start running out of quality?
I remembered when Oregon lost the national title game, there were national radio hosts and columnists who said you can't win a national title with this style. Has anything changed with Oregon's style?
Not really. It's pretty much the same. I think they're maybe a little bit more physical on defense now than they were then. And the quarterback is better. That's the biggest thing. Is even if they do have some shortcomings on the defensive side of the ball, they have the best quarterback in school history and the best quarterback in the country, and they figured they can just outscore teams if need be. So the criticisms of the style will still be there if they don't win tonight, but it's still pretty much the same thing.
How does this game play out?
I think it's a shootout. I think there's a lot of points. Of course, I thought that in 2010, and it ended up Auburn 22, Oregon 19. But I just see both teams being able to move the ball and score a bunch, and I think Oregon's going to win, but I've been very impressed not only with the way Ohio State's played, but their demeanor, being around them for the last week. I'm impressed with them.
I have somebody who's around the program who said Ohio State is rarely in this position, and they're relishing this position. That they love the fact that, hey, we shouldn't be here. If there was no 14 playoff, we wouldn't be here. And everybody says Oregon's going to blow us out. Bring it on. We're on our third-string quarterback. Nobody can name anybody else on the team. Everybody knows our coach, but that's it. They sort of love this anonymity, taking it into the national title game.
Absolutely. No, they've ridden it. I mean, they were an underdog in the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin. They were an underdog, obviously, against Alabama. They're an underdog here. And you're right, it's an overdog program. So to be in this position has been, I think, fun and refreshing for them. And just they seem locked in but not uptight at all. And I think they're ready to play a good game. If it's good enough to win, we'll see. But I'm impressed just by the way they've handled themselves.
Urban Meyer is an offensive-minded guy, and he was a guy who helped usher in the spread at Utah when he had Alex Smith here. And I had him on last week, and I'm curious, as an offensive-minded guy, looking at Oregon's offense, if he can help translate that to his defense to help them not shut down, but maybe control this Oregon offense.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he has very good insight into what Oregon does, because it is similar, and he spent a lot of time with Chip Kelly the year he was out of football when he was working for ESPN. He spent time with him, and I think he realized that's kind of the next advancement of his offense, of the spread offense he helped kind of introduce. And I'm sure there's been a whole lot of communication between the offensive staff and the defensive staff of what they're going to face.
The future of Braxton Miller and J.T. Barrett with Cardale Jones, how great he's been.
Yeah, I think Braxton Miller is a transfer for sure, because he's going to be able to graduate and be eligible immediately. J.T. Barrett, they love J.T. Barrett. They really do. Everything about him, the intangibles. I would expect him to come back and there to be one heck of a competition to see who is the starting quarterback in the spring. Man. And then maybe after that, somebody transfers. But I think they definitely want to keep Barrett around.
What if Braxton Miller transferred to Michigan?
You're so provocative. What an idea there. That would be really interesting. You know, I don't know whether he fits what Jim Harbaugh wants to do, but he's a heck of an athlete, and putting him out there, holy cow. I think there's been one transfer before, an offensive lineman between those two schools, and that almost caused a communal nervous breakdown. Transfer a star quarterback, that would really be something.
All right, so you got Oregon winning tonight?
Yeah,
in a shootout.
Yeah.
Close?
No, at 10 points, I would say. But again, I think there's going to be enough points on the board. It may be team with the ball last, but it should be a lot of fun.
Has Harbaugh done anything at Michigan yet?
Not yet. I'm waiting for him to come out with something to, tweak some people. He's putting together a good staff. He missed on a couple of guys he was trying to get, but, we will see. He won't be quiet very long.
Have fun tonight. Thank you, Pat.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Pat Forty from Yahoo Sports covering tonight's national title game. Our best and worst of the weekend coming up. Also, the Sony 4K stat of the day coming up as well. This is the Dan Patrick Show.
What's impressed me most about Cardale Jones has been the maturity. And that was a big question mark I had. Remember, before those two games he played, he was a relative unknown. After that, 47,000 Twitter followers. And after that great game against Alabama in the semifinals, it would have been very easy for him to get a big head, to feel like he's arrived and that he's the man. What does he do? He goes back to Columbus, Ohio, sits down on his phone for 45 minutes, and he starts blocking people on his phone so that only coaches, teammates, and his family can call him. Coach Herman didn't ask him to do that. Coach Urban Meyer didn't ask him to do that. I thought it was tremendous leadership and maturity to block out all the distractions before the biggest game of his life and a huge moment for he and his teammates tonight. Very impressed with Cardale Jones, especially in these last 11 days.
You know, Jess, it's going to be such an emotional time for both of these quarterbacks. I remember the first time I played in a national championship and I came out on the field, I felt like my feet weren't even touching the ground. I mean, you have to be able to manage that early, and I think Cardale Jones will. But I think you also have to be careful, because you go through and beat Alabama and Nick Saban and that team in impressive fashion the way they did, and you think I've arrived and now I'm just going to kind of go out there and this Oregon defense won't be as good as that team. But this team will have something ready for Cardale Jones. I think Don Pelham, the defensive coordinator, will have something on third down and red zone situations in particular.
Interesting stat on young quarterbacks in national championship games. In the BCS era, there were only 3 quarterbacks to start a BCS title game with fewer than 11 games experience, which Cardale clearly is in that group.
Yep.
Marcus Outzen, Michael Vick, Everett Golson, all 3 lost.
Yeah.
So regardless of what he did against Wisconsin and Alabama, this stage, like you mentioned, how long did it take you, Brian, before you sort of settled down and said, okay, it's just football, the field's 100 yards like every other game?
Well, unfortunately, I threw an interception before I settled down. But the thing, it's a fine line between being aggressive and being smart in these situations. You want Cardale Jones to take those shots down the field. That's who he is, and that's what this offense is. But at the same time, you can't be forcing the ball down the field into a 2-deep roll coverage either, where you're not going to be able to complete that pass or it might get intercepted. That was a mistake I made, and it's going to be interesting early in the game, especially on third downs, to see how he reacts.
And that's what I'm looking for, Greasy. When I'm watching Cardale Jones in his third start tonight, has he settled down? And it's going to be decision-making. We know how great he is as a physical athlete, but what he's been so good at in the last 2 games is making great decisions. When you're playing an Oregon defense, it's a bend-but-don't-break style. They like to drop 7 and 8 guys into coverage, take the deep throwaway. Cardale Jones is going to have to be patient. He's going to have to try and attack the middle of the field, check the football down, and keep the offense on rhythm while staying on the field. Tonight's not the night to outduel Marcus Mariota on national TV and try and be the superstar. Tonight's not the night in front of millions of Americans around the country to show off your 80, 85-yard arm strength. And force the football into small holes against a defense that prides itself on taking the football away. Decision-making early, I think, will tell you if Ohio State's in a good place in this football game.
And Jay said young quarterbacks, and I think there's a difference between young and inexperienced. He's a very inexperienced quarterback, but he is 22 years old. Could that make a difference? I mean, will that help him if he's tempted to compete with Marcus out there?
It's so hard to say, Chris, because the sample size of game film to watch from Cardale Jones is so little. And, what he lacks in experience, he makes up for in talent. That's the good news. There's a tremendous upside. At 6'5", 250 pounds, Cardale Jones has a physical skill set that you simply cannot coach. They call him 12 gauge for a reason. This guy has an absolute cannon for an arm. And here's a great demonstration of that in a critical third down. Jalen Marshall in the slot running a post route. At the top of the route, he's going to get redirected, and that puts Landon Collins, the safety, with inside leverage on an inside breaking route. So this throw has to be precise, and there's the rocket. 35 yards on a dime in between 3 defenders. First down, Ohio State. Now, you can't coach a guy 6'5", 250 to run the way he does, but he has that kind of athleticism. First down, drop back, nothing there, take off. Ryan Anderson, defensive end, that's a stiff arm. Nick Perry, safety, run away. Landon Collins finds out he's going to be a first-round pick. When you tackle a 6'5", 250-pound quarterback, that is a business decision. And I'll say it again. As impressive as he's been, guys, physically, the decision-making over the last 2 games has been uncanny. Can he keep that up against an Oregon defense that has 30 takeaways on the season, tied for 10th most in the country? Remember, Cardale Jones was third string at the start of the year because he had bad turnovers in practice. Now, that hasn't materialized in the last 2 games. You got to give the coaching staff a ton of credit. Can he keep it up tonight? He's the X factor.
He's got to be careful when he gets downfield, too, running the football. If he gets hurt, the option is Jalen Marshall, who is a wide receiver. So, yes, you want him to go and make plays with his feet, but you also want him to be careful and be safe.
A business decision. I like that.
Yeah. That's not a quarterback. That's a lumberjack. I mean, when you see him coming at you, you're right. Play for another down.
No doubt about it. He wears you down as a quarterback. And Oregon's going to find that out tonight when they try and tackle him. They got to be smart.
All right, guys. Thanks.
They're back later to talk Marcus Mariota. And speaking of the quarterbacks, which one will it be? Mariota and the Ducks or Cardale Jones with 2 starts in the Ohio State Buckeyes National Championship presented by AT&T. Oregon, Ohio State tonight, 8:30 East.
We're going to win today because we have the Heisman quarterback, the #1 fans in the country, and the best theme song. I love my Ducks. I love my Ducks. I love my Ducks. Go Ducks! Oh!
To try and play the game in their mind a little bit, relax, and get ready for their moment. I think that as the game starts, there's going to be some butterflies. We played in a 2002 game just like Gus did, and after that first play, it's about football.
Coach Malzahn, how hard is it to keep a routine? Because it's a little bit different this year. After those big semifinal wins, the teams got to go back to campus, came back here. It's been an 11-day break. How hard is it to keep that routine?
Yeah, as a coach, that's what you want. You want routine, and it is a little bit different. Right now, you're in the hotel, and it's pretty easy to keep their emotion in check at the hotel. When you get here in pregame, you can say all you want about staying routine. It's different. And I was always worried about our guys wasting too much emotional energy. I just told you to relax, guys. I know you're excited, but save your energy for the game.
Coach D'Antonio had a phenomenal season. Of course, the only two teams you lost to are the two teams playing tonight. So you've seen them up close and personal. How do they stack up against each other? Where do you see a potential advantage?
Well, when you look at it, I think they're two teams that there's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of difference in them. One's a 3-4 defense, a little bit more 4-3 for Ohio State. Offensively, they're going to run the same type of offenses in general, but one's more power football, the other's a little bit more zone read things. One's got a quarterback that's going to escape more than the other guy, but the other guy can make plays. Both have great skilled players, so I think it's going to be a great football game. And, I think it's going to be one on things like special teams, and tempo. Tempo is something I know that Gus does as well, and, they've got to get used to each other's tempo. And I think the team that can line up and not make mental mistakes and play fast, ultimately it's the team that wins.
Coach Malzahn, of course, you played against Oregon in the national title game back in 2010 under Chip Kelly. What differences, if any, have you seen under this year's team in Oregon coached by Mark Helfrich?
Well, I tell you what, their quarterback, I think he's the difference maker. They do a great job with their pace. Most pace teams are paced to run the football, but they're balanced. I mean, they run their neckage, their pass game, and but I think the quarterback's the difference.
Yeah, well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. At the start of the year, there was over 120 teams with their eyes on the prize. Tonight, only two remain. It's Ohio State versus Oregon in the inaugural College Football Playoff National Championship game.
In thought, in action, and ultimately, they hope, during the game when it kicks off. We throw it over to Sam Ponder for more on the Ducks.
Tom, just like the Buckeyes, the Ducks have a long day of waiting, but they have every detail mapped out. Right now, they're just finishing up their own hydration testing, just one of the many innovative things that this Oregon program does. They've proven over the last few years they're more about science than they are about tradition. And this year, they put their money where their mouth is. They hired an analytics company called SportSource that came in. They have over 200 million pieces of data to analyze everything that the Ducks and their opponents do. But they do more self-scouting than they do anything else. Any opportunity to get just 2% better, more efficient, take less time, and keep guys healthy for longer, which has come in handy with this 15-game schedule that they started preparing for before the season even began. It's a little bit of a Moneyball approach, if that makes any sense. They have put it to work this year, and tonight we get to see if paying attention to all those very small details really makes a difference in the long run. At 3:30 today, they'll have their pregame meal, and then they head over to Arlington right here at 4:45. Tess.
Thank you, Sam. Oregon dealing with small details. I'm dealing with big personalities, as I'm joined by Jesse, Lou, and Joey here. This is framed there as science versus old school. I relate a little bit more to the clap drill. Joey, get us going, my man.
You guys ready?
Dialed in.
Follow the clap. Ready, Coach? Ready?
Yeah. That's all we got.
That's all we need. It's a good crescendo because the buildup has been incredible here.
Dialed in.
We've been talking about this for a couple years, guys. We knew the sport was changing. Here it is. It's arrived. The moment's about to happen. From a coach's perspective, 5.5 hours until kickoff. How much of a concern is it dealing with the long wait, Lou?
Oh, it's always a problem because if you hold your fist like this for 2 hours, you're so weak you can't pick up a glass. So you want them to relax. And I would say to the football team, hey, man, I know you want to play at noon. I called Oregon. I said, we'll meet at noon. We'll play the game early. They said no. They ain't going to show up till 7:30. I can't do a thing about it. Get ready at 7:30. Now, once they're rested, we use captain video and also. But on the way to the bus, I had these cards made up, and I had about 50 of them that down and distance. For example, 3rd and 3 on the plus 24. What do you call power? Okay, 3rd and 18 on the plus 32. Lou Holtz, what would you call? I had to come up because I called the plays, and I didn't want there to be any doubt what I was going to call. I wanted to create a rhythm. So I was worried about me getting ready. keeping the players.
Grab those
relaxed.
cards over there, Pop. Grab those cards. What else you got in here?
What just right here? All this.
Right there. I want to know. 4th and 2 plus 39.
Plus 39.
No way you're punting. There is no way you're punting on 4th and 2 plus 39.
I'll come in and say, which one's the 3rd and long? That's when I know I got a chance to get in the ball.
That's 4 verse right there. That's 4 verse with Galloway.
Are you in the Hall of Fame?
No.
Did you win 249 games?
4th and 2 plus 39. You're punting in the national championship game.
That's how you win championships, Joe.
Oh, man. We'll see if we get that kind of conservative.
I made a different
Start
call.
memorizing these. Let's talk about what's most intriguing to you. Listen, we've spent the whole week talking about some of the obvious, Mariota's ability, Cardale Jones' inexperience. Now that it's here, what's most intriguing about tonight?
It's the obvious to me, guys. It's the quarterback matchup. So seldomly in a game of this magnitude do you have such a juxtaposition with respect to experience from each team. Cardale Jones is only making his 3rd start. He's been unbelievable. At 6'5", 250 pounds, he has physical skill sets that you just can't coach. He's made great decisions. Does he continue to play like an All-American, or does he finally look like a guy making his 3rd start today? On the other side with Oregon, Marcus Mariota, unknown commodity, 3-year starter, tons of big game experience, best player in the country. To me, that's a decided advantage for the Oregon Ducks in this game tonight, the experience.
Yeah. And leave it to a quarterback to do 2 things. Talk about the quarterbacks and then use the word like juxtaposition.
So that's a Joe word. That's a Joe test word I got a couple years ago.
What I want to see is the Ohio State running game with Ezekiel Elliott and what it does against this Oregon defense, which everyone has called not very physical. And myself, I've done the same thing. This is a running game that has broken off some big runs. We've seen the 80-yarder against Alabama, a very physical team. Tonight it'll be important to see if they can possess the football. Not just get the 80-yard run, but move the chains and keep Mariota on the sideline. That matchup will be key.
I really feel like Ohio State offensively, you bring up Zeke Elliott, really has so much more of an identity right now than what we saw earlier this year.
Everything Ohio State does on offense starts and ends with their ability to run the football. It's a physical running game. It's not just inside, but it's outside, and it's Ezekiel Elliott. We always talk about this offensive line. All 5 starters have started all 14 games this season up front, and they dominate, but they do a tremendous job also on the outside of blocking at the perimeter with wide receivers in the 2nd level. There is tremendous volume of running plays in this offense. It's zone plays inside and outside. There's misdirection. They pull linemen. There's jet sweeps. There's quarterback runs. It's a lot to get ready for. It's a good thing Oregon's had 11 days.
Yeah, but the ones that have hurt teams are not the called runs. The 3rd and longs. The coach didn't have this on his play card. They call a play, and Cardale Jones pulls it down and runs hard, runs through some tackles. He did it at Alabama, and it changed the game early on. At 250 pounds, he ran through some tackles.
But to me, I think the most intriguing thing is the wide receiver situation in Oregon. Here you lose Carrington, outstanding receiver who did not pass the test, and then they lost a great receiver in Allen's, one of the fastest play. To lose two great receivers like that, maybe Marcus Mariota isn't going to be quite the same without him.
That's going to be a big part of our discussion as the day continues. Let's let you know what you're in store for throughout the day. Here we are. It's only college football from here on out. You got College Game Day coming up. Going to take you right through the pregame show. Championship drive at 6 o'clock. College football playoff pregame show at 8:30 kickoff. Oregon, Ohio State, history-making college football playoff first national championship game. Coming up, the one guy who has faced both Oregon and Ohio State. Spartans head coach Mark D'Antonio is here. What does he see as the biggest difference between these two? Plus, we will go field level to tell you which quarterback can shine on that brand new turf. Heisman winner, Buckeyes legend Troy Smith, on how Cardale Jones will deal with this pressure. We're just a little closer. The history, the much anticipated first college football playoff national championship game awaits from here in Arlington, Texas.
It's nearly time when theory dies, guessing stops, planning ends. No more delays or intervals, no more breathers or breaks, no more hanging on or putting off. It's nearly time when promise meets proof, intent enters result, hope hits fact. The waiting room is closing, the teams are assembling, the field is opening. It's nearly time.
Ducks and Buckeye fans have been out there for hours. AT&T Stadium here in Arlington, Texas. Ohio State seeking the program's 6th national championship. Oregon searching for their first. Of course, Michigan State, the only team to play both Oregon and Ohio State. Take you back to September 6th. Sparty with a 6-point lead into halftime, but the Ducks stormed back, scoring the final 28 points. Mariota had 2 touchdown passes. Royce Freeman, the sensational freshman, had 2 touchdown runs to seal the comeback. November 8th, game of the year in the Big Ten, surprisingly one-sided. J.T. Barrett had a huge night. 386 yards of total offense, 5 touchdowns, 3 passing, 2 rushing. Ohio State put themselves in the playoff conversation that night, 49-37. Mark D'Antonio, the only head coach in the country who has the first-hand experience of playing both teams, fresh off that Cotton Bowl Classic victory. Congratulations. How was that trophy there, Coach?
Yeah, it was a little heavy.
It looked heavy.
Those things that you just showed here about Ohio State and Oregon, they're troubling as well.
Well, I was wondering that. Yeah. Why couldn't we show the bowl game? What
a welcome, right?
Exactly. Trying to roll with it.
Guy wins a championship, and here you go. Welcome to the show. All right, what's the biggest difference between these two, Coach?
I think the biggest difference is you're seeing 2 different type of defenses. You're seeing somewhat similar offenses, although I think 2 different style quarterbacks, which is going to lend to how their offenses go. And that's the biggest thing. 2 very well-coached football teams. I think Ohio State plays extremely well on the special teams as well. And, I think that a lot of small things are going to indicate which way the game's going to go.
Has either Coach Meyer or Coach Helfrich called you to ask how we stack with the other team?
No, they have not.
I think you should. In 1988, we're playing Miami. They had won like 36 in a row, and I called Bo Schembechler. We'd played them. He had just played Miami. I said, can we beat them? He said, they're better than you, but you're capable of beating them. You're going to have to do certain things. And it gave us tremendous confidence. Here's somebody who played both and gave us a chance to win. And I would want to know, how do you think we stack up with them?
Coach, biggest question coming into the game is the physicality of Ohio State versus a team like Oregon, who people don't think is very physical. You've seen both. What would you say to that, the people to say this Oregon team is more of a finesse team?
Well, first of all, you look at their defensive front. Oregon's defensive front is 2 big defensive ends, very physical. When you look at them offensively, they may be a finesse team, but Royce Freeman is an extremely explosive runner, much like Ohio State's guy, Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
You had to deal with
Very
J.T. Barrett when you played Ohio State. Obviously, we've watched Cardell Jones in this incredible performance these last 2 games. What have you seen with him that makes them different at all?
Well, I think, first of all, they've done a tremendous job with their quarterback situation. I can't think any time and anywhere where somebody's lost 3 quarterbacks in a season and they're playing for a national championship. Tremendous job by the coaching staff. But I think Cardell is a different type of guy. He's a downhill guy, very powerful guy. He's going to run over you rather than run around you. And Mariota's going to get out of some tough jams. Loose plays, I think, are the key to victory here for Oregon.
I remember watching the Oregon-Michigan State game. You're up at halftime. They put on a tremendous performance in the third and fourth quarter. Was it what they did, or was it what you did that enabled them to be so successful?
Well, they answered with a couple things. They had some rubs on us, and I think that's one of the things defensively that you got to watch. The wide receivers rubbing off each other and somebody getting clean, and that's what happened against us. And then we sort of stalled in the fourth quarter when the game was still in question. We went 3 and out a couple times. And there's, even though you lose by 19 or 20 points, there is some point in both games where we have a chance to win the football game, and you've got to take advantage, and those inches have to be built on, and you have to make plays.
So much conversation about conferences against conferences. Baylor was a team, Michigan State was a team that on that outside edge of getting into the 4-team playoff. So the entire country had their eyes on the Michigan State-Baylor game, see who prevails in that game. As a coach and as a team, do you guys feel any added pressure when it comes to the Big Ten and saying, look, we need Michigan State to win this game just to make a statement for the entire conference?
I think that's a general perception out there, but I don't buy into it because I think it's game to game, team to team. And I really don't think, Baylor's got a tremendous football team. Because we beat them by 1 point does not mean that we have a better conference than the Big 12.
Well, the Big 12 did go 6-1 against the Big 10 this year.
Well, there you go.
They did. Come on. Ohio State 8-0 versus Oregon.
Coach, obviously you've been at these final precious moments before the big game last 2 years with your success in the postseason. If you're Mark Helfrich, if you're Urban Meyer, what would be your final message before you head out to take on this challenge?
You want to relax and play your best. And you want to use these moments, these life moments that will propel you into the future, make make dreams for you come true. And that's what I say to our guys all the time. You know, this is an opportunity to make dreams come true for yourself. You know, don't bypass it by getting all nervous. Do what you do. Be confident. Get ready to play. Knock them down.
Come down and you visit a town like this on a big event week like this. Everywhere you go, from the airport to the restaurants to the hotel, who you like.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you gather a good sense on the game where you feel comfortable answering that, or you really can nail it down? And
No, not me. That's what you guys are here for.
Right.
But, you know, I am from Ohio, and, you know, I'm in the Big Ten, and my roots are in Ohio. And so, you know, I've got a little scarlet and gray with me from Coach Tressel and the different people I coach for Earl Bruce as well. And so there's a part of me here. But, you know, I'm going to stand back and watch.
You know, there's nothing more exciting than to get on that bus, come into this stadium, the sirens blaring and the crowd cheering. You get off that bus, they're patting you on the back. I wanted to play as a coach. I mean, it's just nothing like that excitement.
No, you know, last year at the Rose Bowl when we walked into that stadium, there were 30,000 Spartan fans there when we got off that bus.
Wow.
And that's what will be here tonight. There's nothing like that.
No, there really isn't.
Mark, congratulations. Cotton Bowl Classic champion this year. Glad to have you with us. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having
Next time we have you, Coach, we're going to try to cue up some of the good moments. That'd
be awesome.
Next time.
Thank
Much more to come. After the break, we're going to go down to the field. Troy Smith is there ready to tell us how Marcus Mariota and Cardale Jones will determine the outcome of this game. Quarterback conversation with the Heisman winner. And speaking of quarterbacks, they're getting the attention of the boys out in the desert. No headgear for us. We're going to leave that to Coach Corso, but prop bets the interest of this crowd. Like over under 63.5 yards for the longest touchdown. Think about it. Over under longest touchdown. Prop bet pick segment to come.
They dominated in every way.
This was a resounding statement. Elliott off to the races. The dream continues for the Buckeyes.
The national championship presented by AT&T, Oregon, Ohio State, tonight at 8:30 on ESPN.
Welcome back to College Football Live. I'm Chris Cotter in Eugene at the Student Rec Center. Brand new facility. Gorgeous. They're going to have a viewing party here tonight. About 500 students expected to be here. They've got two others, official viewing parties on campus. So the students will be spread out a little bit, but it's a small campus. Wondering how many are making that trek to Arlington for the game? They already sold out their 500 ticket allotment very quickly. It's a little expensive in terms of getting airfare from Eugene to Dallas. That's keeping some here in town. And also, they just don't want to miss the party in Eugene. If they win, it's going to be a big blowout here. Let's see what's happening with Columbus as far as how many students are making the trek from there. Kaylee Harding is standing by in Columbus.
Well, Chris, the student body at Ohio State, double that of Oregon. They managed to get twice as many tickets into their student lottery. 1,000 tickets available for free thanks to a cooperation between the College Football Playoff, the university, the athletic department, and some help from Taco Bell. The travel, however, that costs students extra. We have heard stories of kids paying up to $1,000 for round-trip plane tickets, taking buses for 15 hours. The best story, though, that of a delayed flight from Delta, from Columbus to DFW. Mechanical issues. Delta just went ahead and brought in a new plane to make sure everybody from Columbus who needed to could get to DFW in time. Tess.
Kelly, far better than that 15-hour bus ride you just described. As of this afternoon, according to StubHub, this is the cheapest seat, upper corner, section 401, $368, and this the most expensive, field level, section 110, $3,633 to have that view of the championship game. Let's look at the quarterback matchup brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. The two quarterbacks, they both played well in the respective semifinals to get here, but the comparison ends there. Mariota, an eye-opening 134 touchdowns over his 40 career starts. For more on the QBs, we head to the field to our QB, Danny Cannell. Danny.
Oh, my God. Thanks, Tess. We're sitting here with Troy Smith, 2006 Heisman Trophy winner, Brian Greasy. I should have gotten in the middle of them because they've been talking a lot of smack here in between in the breaks.
We're talking about Ohio State, Michigan being back.
Yeah.
Right. Back at the top.
We're debating the most intense rivalry out there. We need to get that one back for sure. Now, you developed a relationship with Cardale Jones,
right.
with a relationship going to the high school, same high school, Glenville High School.
Right.
Tell us a bit about what you've told him leading up to this game.
For the most part, don't leave a loser. I know what it feels like to be on the big scale and not have things go the way that you want them to. It's a very, very historic moment. while you're in the moment, soak it in, have an understanding that this is the most important thing going on for Ohio State, and you are the guy. There's nobody else. Relish in the moment, understand that it's all you, and take advantage of it.
Brian, what's impressed you the most about Cardale?
I think it's been the decision making. He's been so calm and so cool under pressure. Went against one of the best defenses in all of college football, and Nick Saban. But then it's also that he's been cool. Nothing has fazed him. He hasn't blinked, and quite frankly, I don't expect him to blink tonight either.
What do you think the biggest challenge he'll face tonight facing this?
Well, it is going to be a little bit different. And talking to him, you can't just say, well, we went up against Alabama's defense and we passed that test, so this is going to be a breeze against Oregon's D. I think Don Pelham's going to bring some pressure. I think in third down and red zone situations, that's the biggest key in the game for Cardale. How does he handle pressure in third down and red zone? Because you've got to score touchdowns when you play this team.
Troy, you're still involved with the program there in Columbus. Tell me about Urban Meyer and just what you've seen kind of on the ground there and how he's been able to really keep this team together in spite of all the injuries, the issues they've had to deal with.
Different type of regime. I got a different type of respect for Urban and his work ethic and the guys that he brings to Ohio State. I get a chance to brag all the time and talk about the difference in offensive linemen when I was there and the way that they look now. Don't get me wrong. I am a fan of Potbellies because Potbellies protected me for years. But nowadays, our offensive linemen have 6-packs, 4-packs in some cases. You know what I mean? These are some good-looking guys. You know what I mean? So he's doing tremendous.
Now, you had some advice for Cardale Jones, but you're also a Heisman Trophy winner who played in a championship game.
Right.
Now, we won't even tell them what you're going to say, but what would you say to Marcus Mariota had you a chance to talk to him about playing in this type of environment?
What's so funny is I don't want to take anything away from what you said, but I got a chance to speak to him at the Heisman.
Really?
And I gave him some of the same words of advice. He's now one of my brothers also in the Heisman fraternity. So I won't take anything or hold anything back from him either. And I told him, it does not feel good walking off the field and looking at another team's confetti falling on your head. You want it to be your colors. We got a chance to make it, so hopefully some of the stuff that I told him he doesn't take to heart that well. He forgot some of it, but I know he will. He's a great leader. He's going to lead his team, and we just got a pretty good task on our hands.
Give some people at home what it feels like to come out as a starting quarterback in a national championship game. You come out for warm-ups. I remember I could hardly feel my feet touch the ground. I was so excited.
It's tough. I think the best pass I threw that day was to John Sally at the beginning of the game. We were tossing it around back and forth. I didn't have a good game, but it was definitely the experience, being out in Arizona, soaking it all in with my family. It was awesome. We didn't get a chance to win. Chris Leak in Florida, Urban Meyer, they did it that time around. But now we've got the scowl on our side, so I feel good now,
Well, one of these two guys, whether it's Cardale or whether it's Marcus, their life will change tonight on this field.
Put on your defensive coordinator hat for Ohio State. What would you do to slow down Mariota?
It's tough. You have to try to keep him in the pocket, I believe. And he's down a couple of playmakers in Devin Allen, Darren Carrington. So I think I would expect Marcus Mariota to use his feet more in the game. And for that reason, if I'm Chris Ash, the defensive coordinator, I want to keep him in the pocket, make him throw the ball, and I would play man-to-man coverage, tighten down those windows, and maybe you make a play in the secondary.
All right, Troy's got the ball out here. We were going to have a long toss competition, but I think we just succeeded, right?
He could beat us from his knees.
All right, thanks a lot, Troy. Thanks,
I appreciate you guys.
Good luck to your boys tonight,
Thanks,
man.
brother.
Back to you, Tess.
Good to have Troy Smith with us. We have more from AT&T Stadium to come. We know plenty about Marcus Mariota, but what about the road his Ducks have traveled on this season, and how will they deal with that further thinned-out receiving core? And the proposition bets await. Our guys will have to answer the exotic pick questions. Vegas wants to know whether the first score of the game is going to be a touchdown or field goal. We'll have more of that ahead as College Football Live continues from the dressed up and ready to party AT&T Stadium.
Our champion, Bunny.
They're still here.
Yeah. We still don't know who's going to Walt Disney World.
I'm going to Disney World!
Tom Osborne led his Nebraska Cornhuskers into the 1994 season. The hopes of a return to the title game appeared to be in jeopardy when starting quarterback Tommy Frazier sustained an injury that would force him to the sideline.
We had another quarterback, Brooke Beringer,
but we weren't really sure how he would react.
I've been waiting a long time for this opportunity, and I'm just trying to make the best of it.
Behringer led Nebraska to an undefeated regular season, setting up a national championship tilt against a familiar foe in a familiar venue.
We had played Miami 3 times previously in the Orange Bowl. We'd had some tough experiences with them.
It is history. Bring that trophy back to Lincoln.
It really isn't the national championship. It's the journey. It's the feeling that develops the relationships. They really are the important things.
The more vintage Keith Jackson voice, the better. 94 Nebraska, Tom Osborne, now on the selection committee that placed Oregon number 2. This year, a season of overcoming injuries and one unexpected upset, and that's what they have to overcome today. The loss of Darren Carrington, the wide receiver. It's been an incredible path for the Ducks.
Pump fake, gonna go deep. He's got Devin Allen. He's got a touchdown.
We know what they're going to do on defense, so if we come out and execute, they won't be able to stop us.
There goes Freeman. Touchdown, Oregon. Ball game. Oregon puts a statement on it.
This is a big win, but now it just makes the next game that much bigger.
The 2 ranking on the line tonight against a feisty Washington State Cougar team.
As a unit, offensively, we did a great job of just kind of battling back and executed well in the second half.
The pass, the touchdown, and the Ducks regain the lead. They survive in advance.
If I'm Oregon right now, I got my foot on the pedal here, trying to go. You've got them reeling.
Mariota on the slant, low into the end zone, touchdown Ducks, and we're an extra point away from being tied. Handoff into the end zone, and Arizona's up by a touch.
Mariota on a play fake, steps up, hit from behind, and tackle.
Marcus Mariota and the Ducks go down.
He's the best player in college football, and it's not debatable right now. This is your stage, man. Give him the rock and let's see if he can earn it.
Mariota scrambling left. He can coast to the end zone. Touchdown. Mariota wants to throw. Carrington, touchdown. And it's over. Oregon earns the Pac-12 championship.
The wait is over. The playoff is here. If you're not ready for the Rose Bowl in the playoff, you might not have a pulse. Mariota makes a completion on the far side, and running free is Darren Carrington.
We knew going in that our tempo can be a weapon. We kind of feel that way in every game.
Carrington's second touchdown in short order from 56 and now 30 yards.
Spins back to his right, slips and falls, and the ball comes out of his hand. It's picked up by Tony Washington, who's going to run it back for a touchdown.
Is that the Ducks' dagger?
I'll tell you something, Florida State's quit.
34 unanswered points turn a close game into a beatdown.
You know, all we want to do is come in and win and get ready for the national championship.
Let's talk about concerns for Oregon. And I want to start with this, with Darren Carrington, who obviously is ineligible for this game. He was the leading receiver in the Pac-12 title game, the Rose Bowl, really blossoming at the right time. They spent all media day, all weekend saying, it's over, enough, we move forward, next man up. Reality is it happened.
Yeah.
It is a distraction. He's not on the field tonight.
Right. And I think on the field there is going to be an impact. I think Oregon is going to lose something. He's a guy that's proven he's a big play threat. In the last 2 games, he can catch a ball 20 yards downfield, make a safety miss, and score. At 6'2", he's a good target over the middle of the field for Marcus Mariota. He also does very well with Mariota on scramble drills. They've built a chemistry. But don't forget, he's big in the running game as well. He's one of the biggest receivers they had physically with all the outside zone stretch running plays, the bubble screens, the quick screens. He's a big presence in the blocking game that they're not going to have tonight. And I know it's been next man up all year long for them at wide receiver throughout the course of the year, but I don't think you can underestimate not having Carrington on the field.
If there's a system that can handle losing receivers, it's this Oregon system, the way they do things. It's not a timing-based system. It's not like the West Coast systems that we've seen where it's hit your steps, get the ball out on time with receivers running really nice routes, getting separation. Their system creates the separation. Talked about the passes down the sideline. Nice move on the safety, but I think you could put Joe Tessitore in there and let him run down the sideline. I'm telling you, it was that wide open. You couldn't use Tess. Sorry,
you haven't seen the hands.
We could have put Danny Cannell in there and let him run down the field and catch that ball. A lot of times the windows for Mariota are so large because the defenders are out of place by the system, by the play design. Not doubting that they'll lose something with missing Carrington. I think it's going to be more on third down. But generally speaking, I think they can plug a guy in.
I'll tell you why I am confident that Oregon is going to be able to compensate for this the same as they have for the last 2 years, and that's the coach, Mark Helfrich. He does not allow any hollering on the practice field by himself, by an assistant coach, or by the players. And I want to tell you, you're looking at a guy that screamed and hollered. That does something to disrupt the confidence of a team. But when you don't holler, it just everybody feels good about each other, and all of a sudden it comes together, and that's why people step up and play.
They play all that music in practice. You can't hear anybody holler anyway.
I think the same thing. If you had a coach that doesn't holler during practice, I don't even know how they would get their point.
I had visors and clipboards thrown at me in practice.
I want to put forth one other possible concern for Oregon, and that is the way they've gone about winning in recent years and this season and down the stretch. Front-running style. You get out in front, things go your way, you get 5 turnovers in the Rose Bowl, snowball momentum goes downfield. What if they get into a game where that front-running style isn't there? It's a tight game. They're pressed.
You touched on defense, and I agree with that. This is a defense. They're bend, don't break. They give up a lot of yards, but they pride themselves in playing great red zone defense and getting takeaways. That could be an issue in tonight's game. It's different in the red zone when you're facing a quarterback that's 6'5", 250 pounds with the +1 running advantage in goal-to-go situations inside the 10-yard line. Cardell Jones has done a great job the last 2 games of not giving the football away, and bad things have happened to the Ducks recently when they don't take the ball away. In their last 4 losses, only 5 takeaways. Interesting to see what happens tonight. It could play against them.
I'm not really worried about that. I remember a couple of years ago, I'm on Auburn, play Oregon. Auburn jumped on them pretty good.
Right.
Oregon fought back, tied the game with like 2 minutes to go. It's a low-scoring game, like 20-all. And all of a sudden, and now they have Cam Newton and everybody else, but the running back gets tackled after a 5-yard gain. He rolls over on the back. He's not on the ground. He's down. He picks up, runs it down to the 10. They kick a field goal at the end and end up like 22-20 or something.
Yeah, Michael Dyer that night.
I was really impressed with Oregon and the way they competed. And I think as football team's confident, I think they can win high or low. And for the last 3 games, since they went to stunting and doing different things, creating a lot of lost yardage play, it's been a different defense.
It is tougher to stop a team in the red zone that can run the football physically. Passing teams, you get to the red zone, the defensive backs don't have anywhere to go. It makes it tougher to run routes. When a team can throw Ezekiel Elliott at you, when Cardell Jones, you mentioned, 250 pounds, can run the ball at you, it is tougher to slow those kind of teams down once they get to the red zone, because now they can still punch it in and do the same thing that got them to the red zone. The bend but don't break defense is great. You get behind, it makes it tough, because now, and I know their offense is fast, but now when they have to continually go 80, 90 yards to put points on the board, the clock becomes a problem, even for these teams that run a lot of plays when you get behind.
College Football Live, presented by Ford, moves ahead. We're going to talk about Ohio State and their offense. Cardell Jones, just his 3rd start. Always good to have a helping hand. We'll tell you the Buckeyes offensive players you need to know, the difference makers ahead.
The national championship tonight.
They dominated in every way.
This was a resounding statement. Elliott off to the races. The dream continues for the Buckeyes.
The national championship presented by AT&T. Oregon, Ohio State, tonight at 8:30 on ESPN.
You know, a lot of my teammates, they try to say I like to just show off my abs.
I figure he just likes his abs, so he wants to show them.
He likes it. Eddie George likes it, so go with it, I guess. Eddie likes it, you can do it.
Well, I clown with him about it a lot, to say he liked to wear belly shirts, but of course that's not the reason.
Jersey necessarily fits. I don't like how it's loose at the bottom, so I just like to tuck it up under my pads. It feels way better.
But how are the abs?
I mean, they're definitely A1.
Ezekiel Elliott, a huge part of Ohio State's unexpected arrival to this historic moment. Speaking of arrivals, Ohio State fans and Oregon fans arriving in waves all afternoon long. 12 straight wins for the Buckeyes after putting that devastating loss in the rearview mirror. Many have called it Urban Meyer's finest coaching job yet. 2014, it's taken him to new heights.
I think a lot of insiders pointed to this year being the year where Ohio State could compete with the SEC and try to get to a national championship game.
Worst fears realized today in Columbus with confirmation that Ohio State quarterback Braxton Miller is gone for the season.
Braxton's injured. He's had surgery. It's J.T. Barrett's show to run now.
It's all come down to a couple of snaps. Barrett throws, and it's intercepted again, and that's going to be the ball game.
Eastern Division supremacy and a lot more at stake tonight. Quarterback keeper, design run, and Barrett scampers into the end zone. Barrett loops downfield, throws for Smith, touchdown!
And Barrett in trouble in the backfield is brought down for a loss. Barrett still down for Ohio State. And boy, that looks bad.
Barrett broke his right ankle today and is out for the rest of the season.
The whole state of Ohio is counting on Cardale Jones.
Caught! Touchdown! Got it for 6! Jones and Smith hook it up again. And Ohio State, Big Ten champions.
I don't think there's any doubt we're one of the top 4 teams in America.
Scarlet filling the Superdome.
We're leader. We're closer. 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Elliott leads the way. Touchdown, Ohio State. That one puts him right back in business.
And it's caught. Is it a touchdown? Yes!
Boy, did they ever do it with style, huh?
The last 5 minutes of the first half, first 5 minutes of the second half. Those are momentum-changing moments of the game.
Jones waited to the last minute and let it fly, and he's got Devin Smith. Touchdown. And the Buckeyes have the lead. Sims, quick throw, intercepted. Miller, defensive lineman Green. Touchdown. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him? Touchdown. 85 yards. Hail Mary. Not answered. Intercepted. Ohio State's going to win it.
And the king of the SEC has fallen. The Buckeyes will go to Dallas and face Oregon for the national championship.
The road here for Ohio State is presented by AutoZone. The Buckeyes have spread the wealth when it comes to scoring. 17 different players scored touchdowns this season. They're top 10 nationally in points per game, total yards, and offensive efficiency. But Cardale Jones has hardly been a one-man show here, even in these dynamic 2 games. Had a running back go over 200 yards a couple times. Had a wide receiver make an ultimate highlight to another wide receiver. So give me a name to know tonight for the Ohio State offense who can help him out.
I'm going to go with Jalen Marshall. He's kind of that hybrid role running back / wide receiver. You know, the Buckeyes suffered a terrible loss against Michigan State when Dontre Wilson went down with a broken foot. In steps a true freshman in Jalen Marshall. He was a high school quarterback, rated the #1 prospect out of the state of Ohio, and he's extremely versatile. They've been able to use him in the running game on jet sweeps out of the backfield. He's been big in the slot catching passes, especially on 3rd down and over the middle of the field, which I think tonight will be big against an Oregon defense that'll want to play with 2 high safeties. He's got to be a guy they find creative ways to get touches. Who knows, guys? He might be playing quarterback if Cardale Jones gets hurt in this game. So I've got my eye on Jalen Marshall. I know Dontre Wilson has talked about he wants to play in this game. He feels like he's healthy, but I think as good as Marshall's played late this year, I think the true freshman gets the looks.
He was a record-setting high school quarterback. He rushed for over 4,700 yards in high school. I mean, he can do it any which way. Who's the player to look for?
I have to go with Devin Smith, the wide receiver. I mean, remember against Alabama, he ran a route, and Cardale Jones threw an interception. What happened? Devin Smith came over to the sideline, threw his helmet down to the sky because he and Cardale were not on the same page. He's got to be on the same page with Cardale to have it. And let's remember this. He has a great threat. He's caught 12 touchdown passes this year. He's caught 11 passes over 40 yards. And 4 of those 11 have come from Cardale Jones in the last 2 games. So I think he has to give him a deep threat to open it up for Ezekiel Elliott as well.
I'm going to step away. I'm not going to give you just one guy, but I'm going to go offensive line led by Taylor Decker.
Cheater.
This offensive line, they don't get enough credit. And we keep talking about Ezekiel Elliott. We keep talking about Cardale Jones, how physical the run game is. Talked about the receivers, how much they've grown. But this offensive line, there are many teams in the country that say their offensive line has started every game in a season. These guys have stayed healthy, and late in the season have been extremely physical. When you looked at what they did against Wisconsin and then Alabama, nobody thought they could do it. Physical up front is what's opening up for these other playmakers you guys are talking about.
And meanwhile, Oregon's had 8 different offensive line combinations that they had to put together dealing with all their injuries this year. The picks are
He's
next.
excited.
Not your normal picks here, folks. It is prop bet time. Which team will be the first to use a timeout in a game? That's the level of exotic bet we're going with here. The group gets tested for those answers when we come back. I love it, Palmer.
The last time Ohio State was an underdog, it beat the #1 team in the country. Alabama can tell you all about it. The Buckeyes aren't used to being the non-favorite. They take it as an insult, a slap to the face mask. 3 times this season and 5 times altogether under Urban Meyer, the Buckeyes have been underdogs. Final score, Ohio State 5, favorites 0. Memo to Oregon. Be careful, you're favored.
Boys, this game is on pace to be the most bet-upon college football game ever. And money has been coming in. Late money has been coming in on Ohio State. Of course, with Carrington going out, that suspension dipped down to -5. It opened at 7. As of right now, it's Oregon -6. But forget that. Who needs a point spread when you can talk proposition bets?
Here we go.
Here we go.
Waiting for
Palmer, we're going right across the table. You ready? Will either team score 3 unanswered times in a game? Will there be a run? Overwhelming support in Vegas says yes, it will happen. Yes is -325. 3 unanswered times in a game. Will either team score?
It is going to happen. It's going to be Oregon because they burst. It's going to come off of a defensive turnover or a stop. You blink and these guys score 21 points. Just ask Michigan State, Utah, or Florida State. Absolutely.
Who you got?
Absolutely. Somebody will do it because a game like this has runs.
If you're betting, don't listen to these two guys. It will not happen.
Will not happen.
No, these two teams are too good on offense to allow that to happen. Won't happen, Jess.
Joey, you're getting plus 250.
No.
You're getting plus 250 on your return on investment there.
There's a touchdown, extra point count as 2 scores.
Yeah. Next proposition bet here. You ready for this?
Extra point.
Will a special teams or defensive touchdown be scored? Will it be scored? Money says no. No is -170. Will there be a special teams or defensive touchdown?
Cardell Jones in only his 3rd start. There'll be a catastrophic mistake at some point in the game against an opportunistic defense that has 30 takeaways on the year. I'm going to say yes and go against Vegas.
I am going to say yes also.
Who says yes?
I felt yes right up until I listened to these two guys. I'm going no. I am going no. Just like you know it in Vegas, when you go with what you think is going to happen, it's going to be opposite. Won't happen.
You got to lay 170 to grab a century note on that bad boy for a no. It's -170. You're going to be plus 140. Okay. All right, next prop bet. Total rushing yards for Cardell Jones. Over/under total rush yards for Cardell Jones. 49.5 yards. Scrambles, something opens up.
Initially, I want to say no because he's the only quarterback in this game for Ohio State. You can't risk to get him hurt. But I think if you're Urban Meyer and Tom Herman, you're calling the game to win. You need Cardell Jones to run the football, be it designed or not. He's 6'5", 250, so he ain't getting hurt. Absolutely, he's going over.
But they're not running quarterback power here. You think they're
I think
quarterback power?
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, he ain't going
He's
over. I'm all in. All in on
Take
that
some
one.
back, Coach.
Yeah.
Take some back.
49.5 yards.
He will go over. It won't just be the called runs. It'll be the 3rd down pass plays when he'll take off running with the 250.
You guys have not been on the same page yet. You have not been on the same page yet. Here's the one that I marvel at just when you hear the number on this over-under, because this thing is way north, but he's been doing it. Total rushing yards for Ezekiel Elliott. The over-under is being set at 165 yards.
Let me go first.
I mean, that is a huge number.
Go first.
I'm like you, Coach. We're both all in on this. Yes, he is.
Yes.
And if Jesse got anything to bet, it's all in.
Right.
Yes, he will.
Well, you got over 165.
He's not going over 165. I mean, Oregon wears pads also.
Yeah, but back-to-back 200-yard games, 165.
Give me all your money. Give me this is all going in. Everything Ohio State does starts.
Well, then you like Ohio State to win the game.
Make Oregon prove that they can stop the run.
You like Ohio State to win the game, then, the way you're saying that, then. All right, next prop bet. Marcus Mariota, total touchdowns, passing and rushing combined, over under 4.5 total touchdowns.
The line's at 4.5?
4.5 total touchdowns.
That speaks volumes about what anybody thinks about Marcus Mariota. No. Under. I'm taking
Under.
4. I'll take 4.
You like Ohio State to win the game.
His
It's so
top 2
obvious.
receivers are out. He's so good. 4 is a good number. 4.5 is a big line, guys.
It's a huge line.
4.5 total touchdowns. Marcus
You go back
Mariota.
a couple years, Auburn, Oregon, everybody thought it was going to be a ton of points. It turned out to be 22-19. I'm going with the under.
Say under. Lou, where are you on this?
I'm going under.
Okay, everybody's under on Mariota, 4.5 touchdowns.
We're all going
I love
under.
this one. I love this one. Team that will call the first timeout in the game. Listen,
Ohio State.
Like they said,
they already called one.
You would bet on 2 cockroaches going up the wall. Team that will fall.
Ohio State.
Ohio State
quarterback in his 3rd start.
That's cheap money. That's minus 115.
Get to the last one because I want it.
Who needs a point spread? Minus 6 what, Jesse?
Hey, get to the last one.
You ready? Longest field goal made in the game, 37.5 yards.
Under, because Oregon's only tried 2 over 40. Ohio State's 50%.
We should do an entire prop bet show. Next time we're doing an hour on nothing but prop bets. Hey, this was only the beginning. Many voices to be heard here, but for the last 22 seasons of this sport, the voices that have defined the big event settings have come by way of college football game day. The boys are ready. The grand playoff finale is next. Take it away, Reese.
The day some said would never come and for decades others said should never come has arrived. And the anticipation is soaring just like this shot high above AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, where tonight a crowning night for college football and the first championship game of the playoff era. Not too far away at the Hilton Anatole, that is where Ohio State remains. They will get on a bus in about an hour and a half for a ride that's expected to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 minutes, and this entire area seems to be bathed in scarlet and gray, but not so much at the Oregon Team Hotel. The Gaylord Texan, little bit of a shorter ride for the Ducks, who will play in the championship game for the 2nd time and the first one of this college football playoff era. And if you're going to have a new era, why not have it on the most palatial stage in all of football? AT&T Stadium. This is the game that generations of fans have craved. This is where the Ducks will dress, perhaps not as flashy as some of the uniforms they've donned in the past. We'll talk about those. And the Buckeyes will darn the scarlet jerseys to come out in search of a national championship and to give Urban Meyer the 3rd one of his career. What's different about this day? Well, just 11 days ago, Oregon and Ohio State earned their way here, not by a vote, not by a computer ranking, but by winning the Rose and the Sugar Bowls, and in 4.5 hours, they will go at it to culminate the playoff era. College game day in Arlington, a championship night. If you don't believe it, just watch.
This is the game we've been waiting for. This is the game they've been dreaming of.
Stylin', wildin', living it up in the city.
And now they are here on the biggest stage of their lives.
Too hot. Say my name, you know who I am. I'm too hot.
All of us waiting to see whose star burns the brightest.
Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Don't believe me, just watch.
Boy, did they ever do it with style. Elliott, 85 yards.
He's the best player in college football, and it's not debatable right now.
There goes Freeman. Touchdown, Oregon.
Tailgate is going on outside AT&T Stadium. You see some of the fans milling around, waiting on the gates to open. You hear from the fans behind us, the anticipation's already rolling. They'll kick it off 8:31 Eastern Time, 7:31 here in Arlington. Big 12 officials will call the game, the only Power 5 conference not to have a team in the playoff. The honorary captain, Mike Bellotti, one of the men who established the foundation for this great Oregon run in recent years, and the great Orlando Pace from Ohio State will be the honorary captain for the Buckeyes. It is chilly. It is raw outside in terms of weather, but The zip lines are going, and Old Puddles is ready as well. They'll open the gates at about 4:30 Central Time, and these fans will pour inside and hope that they will be celebrating a national championship, the first one of this college football playoff era. Glad to have you with us. College game day. You got Desmond Howard, Mac Brown, David Pollack. I'm Reese Davis. Oregon and Ohio State guys really ought to be accustomed to being trailblazers. These two schools played in the first ever NCAA basketball tournament game. By the way, won by the Tall Furs, 46-33. A point total is close what the experts expect tonight. We haven't lost any buzz for a championship game like we saw at times, David, in the BCS era.
No, it's been amazing. It's amazing to be a part of history and to be a part of this run to set up the playoffs. And, you know, it's fun because we're going to continue to learn and grow as we go. I think there's some TCU fans that were still upset. But when you got to see the four teams play it out, it's been exciting to be a part of this history, Mac.
Uncharted waters. It's been so hard to get here. We've been talking about who's in, it seems like, for 4 years to get to this point. 128 teams, and I think the committee got it right. I think we have the two best teams tonight. And the strange thing, Reese, the winner lives forever, the loser dies tonight. I've done both. The winner's here and the loser dies.
You're not kidding, man. You're not joking. You know, this is a dream come true for these young men, though. I don't care if it's a BCS national championship or a college football playoff national championship. They want to be in a national championship game. This is historic. It's a great moment. Like my friend Steve Buscemi would always say, dominate the moment. Don't let the moment dominate you. And like you said, the winner will live forever. This is something they'll talk about for years to come, far after they graduate and leave their program.
And the amazing thing is, if we had the BCS, neither one of these teams would have been here. That's what's great about it. You just mentioned the BCS system. Yeah. Oregon and Ohio State would have been playing. It would have been Alabama and FSU. Now look what we got.
Alabama, FSU, and these two wouldn't even have been in this mix. Yep. They'd already played.
But they're in the mix now, and they have a chance to claim a championship. All of the pageantry is rolling, and look who's stepping in. The best damn band in the land. Who's going to get to dot the I and script Ohio? It's going to be Pollack. Desmond, I vote for you.
Let me dot the I with the pose.
Man, I'd love to see Desmond roll out there with a sousaphone. Those guys were out there playing a gleeful song in the Sugar Bowl. Once down 21-6 to Alabama. They came roaring back. Evan Spencer, Michael Thomas hooking up on a trick play. The pick six by Steve Miller. That was a real turning point. And then the capper, Ezekiel Elliott, who went for a Sugar Bowl record 230 yards, went 85, 42-35. The Buckeyes get Alabama and advance to the championship game to take on Oregon. We have a couple of reports, guys that have been following the teams around, a gentleman and a lady. We will start with Tom Rinaldi, who's been with the Buckeyes, and Ohio State's been anticipating this moment, Tom.
Reese, good to be with you. The Buckeyes about to sit down for their team meal back at the hotel at 3:15 or so. As mentioned, less than 90 minutes before they board the buses to make the trip over here to AT&T Stadium. Perhaps the most interesting part of their time at the hotel, the final 20 minutes. And two things that happen. First, the team gathers for a theatrical highlight video, the best plays of the season put together, but interspersed with inspirational messages and moments from locker room speeches delivered all season long by players, coaches, and Urban Meyer. Next, everyone stands up. Meyer faces the team, and they go through something called the clap drill, where Meyer begins a rhythmic clap, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. The players have to match his rhythm precisely. Why? To lock in with him so that everyone's on the same page with one another and with their head coach. We'll see if they're able to keep that rhythm when they get here and the ball kicks off at 8:30 Eastern, Reese.
Tom, in the latter stages of the season, Ohio State has been in perfect rhythm with their head coach, who 37-3 and now trying to claim his third national championship and the first one as the head coach of the Buckeyes. The Rose Bowl, the other national semifinal, Oregon took care of Florida State. This was a 5-point game. A couple of touchdowns from Marcus Mariota to the now suspended Darren Carrington. And somewhere when Jameis Winston did that, Mark Sanchez said, finally, no more butt fumble. They just have Jameis fumble now. Mariota danced into the end zone. It was 59-20 as the Ducks sprinted away with the game against Florida State, and now they have an opportunity to elevate their program by lifting it into a championship realm. Samantha Ponder has been following the Ducks throughout this process. Hello, Sam.
Hi, Reese. As you know, every coach tries to keep their team loose when a big game is coming up like this. But Mark Helfrich told me he didn't have to try very hard because of the redshirt seniors on this team. Specifically, guys like Hronis Grasu, the center, and wide receiver Keenan Lowe. Guys that remember very distinctly that 2011 national championship game against Auburn. They said they had the best week of practice they'd ever had. Then showed up to the game and everybody was tight, overthinking things, and the moment got too big. This year, they say, is different. That Arizona game earlier in the year when they lost, they say they saw some of that in them again, and ever since then, it's been very different. That was evidenced in practice this week, I'm told, where this team was, what I've heard is loose and serious. An interesting combination of the two and a reflection of both their quarterback and their coach. Now, they did something yesterday that they haven't done since they lost to Boise State in 2009. They did a walkthrough right here at the stadium. That's outside of their routine, and that's something Oregon normally doesn't do. We'll see if it has any sort of effect on the team, though, out here tonight, Reese.
Sam, there are times when coaches want their teams to go in and see that giant video board as you have a look at Marcus Mariota's jersey, the Heisman winner. There was some outrage on social media that the Ducks didn't go a little flashier for this grand stage, but perhaps they're trying to make the statement that it's not the clothes that make the men, but it's the guys on the inside that could win a championship. Here are the storylines. Ducks seeking their first title. Ohio State officially, though, I got some resistance from my friends behind me. They want a couple more added to that list, but they are seeking officially their 6th national championship. And look at the resurgence of Northern football. This is only the 2nd postseason meeting where the game had 2 teams from the North, one of them guaranteed to win the championship, and I think you're drawing that line pretty close, having West Virginia as one of the Northern teams, and Ohio State can become the first team to win games against the top 3 teams in the top 3 players in the Heisman Trophy voting after taking down Melvin Gordon, Amari Cooper, and tonight they get the winner in Marcus Mariota. As you watch these semifinal games, Desmond, what did you take from the semis that could be useful tonight in determining what happened?
The first thing I took away from the Sugar Bowl, the big question I had was Cardale Jones. Can this guy play from behind? Would he get shook if his team is down? And he answered that question in resounding fashion against Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. They were down 21-6, and as a viewer, I never felt as though Cardale Jones was shook or worried or batted an eye. He went out there and handled his business. He has some great weapons around him, and Ezekiel Elliott and the wideouts, and I thought that they actually showed the level of maturity, especially for a third-string quarterback, that I didn't expect. So to see Cardale Jones down 21-6 and didn't even bat an eye and went out there and manhandled the Crimson Tide, that showed me a lot about this Buckeyes team, Coach.
Well, I stood out there at the Rose Bowl, and everybody talking about how soft this Oregon team was. They lined up and got after Florida State. They continue to force turnovers like the #1 team forcing turnovers in the country. Yep. But Marcus Mariota is every bit as good as everybody said he was, and he made some of those Florida State guys look foolish in space.
Yeah. He's unbelievable, and his ability not to turn the football over, too. I learned that Cardale Jones is not a third-string quarterback. This dude is as talented as anybody in the country. I mean, it's amazing what Urban Meyer, if you look at his lineage, has continued to be able to do at the quarterback spot. Alex Smith, #1 pick. Chris Leak, Tim Tebow. Now you look at these 3 guys. He even had Cam Newton, by the way, on that Tim Tebow roster, too. Yeah. His ability to find those quarterbacks and perform at a high level has been absolutely amazing.
It's hard to find them. It's even harder to keep them. Keep 3 great.
Oh, when you got 3, you're good.
There's no question.
How about that Tebow, Newton, and at the time, John Brantley was a highly recruited guy, so Urban Meyer has had the magic touch with quarterbacks for sure. By the way, you know what? Oregon and Ohio State have met many times. Oregon 0-8. All times against Ohio State, and they've never scored more than 17 points. We've got plenty coming. Every streak must come to an end, right? And speaking of Urban Meyer quarterbacks, Tim Tebow sits down with Marcus Mariota to talk family, the Heisman, and the national championship, and more on Cardale Jones, how he escaped the streets of East Cleveland and ended up as the Buckeye leader tonight. And a guy who faced both of these teams, Michigan State's Mark D'Antonio, had to make it to the national championship game if you're going to beat old Sparty, I guess. And don't miss a live performance from the Zach Brown Band, award-winning. You'll see them. And we'll also have an appearance from Jimmy Kimmel. Oh, everybody better get a thick skin. We got some mean tweets coming your way from Jimmy Kimmel. And plus, the greatest sports figures in the world discuss What is it like to finally raise that trophy?
Oregon, Ohio State, tonight at 8:30 on ESPN.
The national championship trophy is presented by Dr. Pepper. The era of the crystal football has given way to that spoil of victory. Either Oregon or Ohio State will claim that tonight. Hoisted into the air. What's that like? We'll talk about that a little bit later on as we lead up to kickoff between Oregon and Ohio State. And you never know who's going to get the trophy, particularly in these championship games. There have been multiple upsets, starting with the 03 Fiesta Bowl as Miami thought to be invincible. Some in my general vicinity still gritting their teeth over a pass interference call. Another one close by, much happier with this one as USC went down to Mac Brown. And that ring down behind Vince Young, and Urban Meyer's been part of an upset too. He did it unto Ohio State before. They hope that he does it for Ohio State this time around, because underdogs the last couple of years in big bowl games, the BCS bowl games and the New Year's Six games this year, have been howling. 11 games so far. 9 times the underdogs covered. 8 times the underdog has won outright. And now Ohio State, who's been just fine when they have been underdogs, find themselves around a touchdown dog again tonight. And pretty much that means they got you right where they want you.
Oh, we're an underdog. Absolutely. They got a Heisman Trophy winner that's played. I saw the stat. He's started 40 games. He's got 80,000 yards or something. You know, he's got thousands of touchdowns.
Man, it don't mean nothing to me because anything can happen on any given day. You know, we were favored against Virginia Tech early in the season, and you see how that played out.
Man, I was just watching ESPN, and someone picked us for once. I was just saying to myself watching that, man, I hope we're not picked to win this week.
If I have underdogs that actually believe they're underdogs, then we got a little problem. I got a bunch of guys that kind of absorbed that role this year.
There's a little phrase that you hear sometimes in our college football coverage when the game winds up just about the way our comrades in arid regions expected. We'd say, how do they know? They don't know better, it appears, than to put Ohio State as an underdog. Urban Meyer has not lost as the head coach of the Buckeyes as an underdog. The most recent victory coming in the Sugar Bowl against Alabama. And the expectation is about the same tonight. The margin spread a little bit smaller tonight for Oregon. So why is it, Mac, that underdogs in these huge games, championship games, have had so much success?
You sit there and say, guys, we've won all the games. We've done everything we're supposed to do, and we have no respect. I can't give you respect. You can earn that respect tonight in front of millions of people. You can be heroes tonight. This is a moment you'll remember for the rest of your life. Let's prove everybody wrong. You saw Urban jumped all over that. No, we're the underdog.
Exactly.
No. It's not even close. Absolutely.
No, absolutely.
And I'm excited about this.
They have a Heisman Trophy winner. You know we're the underdog.
80,000 yards, I think he's thrown.
I think you have a built-in
like that.
Exactly. I think it's easier, like you said, for a coach to build an edge for his team because, look, no one expects you to win. So you can go out there, you can be a little more comfortable, you can be a little more loose. But your coach, now he has something to say, hey, they don't respect us. No one's giving us a chance. So now you're building this team up, the opposite, the opponent, and at the same time, you're getting your guys riled up. These guys, man, they're foamy at the mouth, especially when they're about to exit that tunnel, David. Yeah. Those guys, like, they don't respect us. No one respects us. It's us against the world. Let's go kick some butt.
And I think as a player, it's not like you're slacking when you're the favorite. You're not going to slack for the bowl preparation. But when you're told you can't do something for week after week after week, you're looking for that edge. You're looking for that little nugget that you're watching more tape and you're going, what's one more thing I can pick up? So I think the level of intensity picks up. The hatred for the opponent picks up because you're telling me basically I'm not as good as that person. And as a player, I'd be like, you better show it.
Well, what about the other side, though? If you are the favorite and you do get off to a decent start, and then sometimes you see teams start trying to hang on as tight as they can rather than still playing with a lot of freedom.
We tell them in games like this, don't worry about the early stuff. Play as hard as you can. But they may get up, you may get up. None of that matters. It'll all settle in the third and fourth quarter. We also have to look at Oregon expected to be here. After Virginia Tech beats Ohio State, they didn't expect to be here. So they're coming in a lot more relaxed than Oregon. Oregon was supposed to be in this game. I remember that in 06. It was supposed to be USC, Texas. Nobody else was considered. Oregon's is supposed to be here. Ohio State, this is a fun thing for them. They're better off than they thought they'd be 6 or 8 weeks ago.
I tell you what, when you look at the Buckeyes, it's almost like they're destined to be here because, like you said, no one gave them a chance after the Virginia Tech game. And then they lose J.T. Barrett in the Michigan game. So now it's like no way they're going to win and get into the playoff and beat Alabama. I think this team right now is probably the most confident team of the two teams because no one ever gave them a chance, but they kept proving the doubters wrong. So this group is a very excited group, an extremely confident group, and I think because no one gave them a chance, I think they're going to play very loose in this game tonight too.
Unexpected, like Des wearing those earmuffs out here instead. Unexpected.
No, you expected that because that's what's going to be warm. That's what going to you go inside, hey, I'll show my fashion statement. Right now, it's all about being warm. You know me. I don't play with the cold. Hey,
I'm going to tell you something.
I was about to bring out this hat.
Give me that. Ohio State's got a chance to win the Big Ten's first national championship since the 2002 season as College Game Day comes on tonight. Put this hat on during the break. We'll see why the conference has been down in recent years and whether it's really up or it's just Ohio State that's up. And in addition to Ohio State finding a way to come back after the Big Ten was maligned, we'll look at a tangible piece of Buckeye history. The story that'll be on display tonight. Woody Hayes' chalkboard and how the Buckeyes will wear it close to them tonight. Rose Bowl against Florida State, 7 catches for 165 yards and 2 scores. That is much more production than he'd had early in the season, but because of the comfort level, as Samantha Ponder is back with us now, Sam, the Ducks are going to have to find a way to adjust without Carrington in the lineup.
Yeah, Reese, but it's something that they've done all year. Here's an interesting stat for you. This season, for the Ducks on offense, they've only had one position with the same starter in every game. That, of course, is the quarterback position. Since the spring, they've played without their top 4 wide receivers, and it's kind of become their standard mode of operation to, well, just have the next man up.
He's a huge playmaker for us, but at the same time, you know, that receiving core has so many players to step up, and you know, Keenan will be the leader out there, and we'll get another guy that's ready to go.
You know, this year we're missing a lot of guys, so you know, we don't skip a beat when we're missing someone. We all care about each other. We all play for each other, and no one's looking for their personal interests.
Distractions are distractions if you let them be, and how you manage those things is what matters the most, and our guys have managed them, all those situations very, very well.
One of the Oregon assistants this week described senior Keenan Lowe as a pit bull, said he's as intense as ever. And after Darren Carrington's 2-touchdown game in the Rose Bowl, Mark Helfrich still said that it was Keenan Lowe that dominated the game, even though he didn't have a single catch. That's how big of a difference he can make blocking. One thing we know for sure, it seems like some of these seniors were a little offended that everybody was very concerned about their group after a freshman was unable to play, Reese.
Well, Samantha, Darren has really picked up his game in the latter stages of the season, and the absence of another freshman could also have an impact. Devin Allen hurt his knee on the opening kickoff of the Rose Bowl against Florida State, so you put those two guys together, and you're missing like 78 catches and 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns. Ducks say it's not a big deal. How big a deal is it?
Even go back to the spring with Braylon Addison,
yeah.
and then Pharaoh Brown tears his knee up. So, I mean, they're just so accustomed to dealing with it. So now I think it puts more emphasis on a couple other guys. And I think these are the guys you're going to see make a big impact. Charles Nelson, a true freshman. This dude has some skirts. Great pass by Mariota. When he gets the ball in his hands afterwards is where you'll see him do a ton of damage. You saw him do it in the Rose Bowl. He's going to have a big game. And Byron Marshall, he's a guy that lines up at running back, lines up in the slot, kind of that DeAnthony Thomas role. They're going to find ways to get it to him. He's big, he's strong, catches the ball great after the catch. So it's exactly what Sam was talking about. It's next man up, and they've done it so well. Jake Fisher goes out of lineup, they're fine. Grassu goes out of lineup, they're fine. They've done an unbelievable job, Oregon, as a team, making up for all these losses throughout the season, Des.
I know when I first got the news, I thought this was going to be devastating to them. You know, you think, okay, a couple of days before the biggest game of the year, you're going to lose one of your most productive receivers in the latter half of the season because Carrington has been really balling lately. But when I spoke to some coaches who've played against Oregon, they said Desmond is really not that big of a deal. They believe that Oregon has a schematic advantage offensively, and they will just go next man up, plug some guys in. I was actually baffled by that because I think that Mariota has started to build a rapport with Carrington, started to get really comfortable with him. Carrington caught some big balls in the Rose Bowl, some third down catches, 2 touchdowns. So I assumed that Carrington's absence would be devastating to the Ducks. But some coaches, they said, hey, I'm telling you, they have a schematic advantage. They really don't care. They'll put another guy in there, and he'll be productive too, Coach.
Yeah, he is one of those guys that has a little bit of size to him. Mac, the coaches have to say that. You can't have them dwelling on some guy who's not going to be able to play. How does a coach handle it when it happens this close to such an important game?
It does make a difference. You're losing 3 really good players. And he's recruited really well, and he's got a lot of talent. I do think they're right, Des, and that the system is such that you can put a young one in and he can play, but it's really hard to block as a young one. They don't block as well as some of those older guys, and they throw so many bubble screens and run so many outside options. Blocking downfield at the second level is a huge part of this game, and they're going to lose some of that. Also, they've thrown 4 touchdown passes the last 2 games, only to Allen and Carrington, so they will miss it. Now, Coach Lubick, Sonny Lubick's son, he's going to say next man up. Mark's going to say next man up, and they're going to say, where are those guys? I want the next one up to be as fast and tall and big as those 3 I lost.
And also depth, too, because of the offense and the way they like to run their tempo, not having all their guys they can rotate in.
There might be some guys sort of feeling their way. They even said you could look out for the former basketball player, Jonathan Lloyd, who's just playing football for the first
point guard, right?
Yeah, a little bit of run tonight because they are thin in that wide receiving core. Occasionally, when you've had mammoth games like this, championship games, you've seen even great teams get off to really slow starts, particularly in championship games. Think about the last 6 championship games. 3 first-quarter touchdowns. 2 of those came against Brian Kelly by Alabama and Notre Dame. 7 of the last 12 teams were scoreless in the first quarter. That included the highest scoring team in the modern era, 08 Oklahoma. And Oregon, when they were on this stage against Auburn, did not score in the first quarter and wound up with only 19 points for the entire game. So now we don't have as much time off as we did in all those championship games. Will we get a little bit of a quicker start tonight or more slow starts? Let's go back inside AT&T Stadium and John Saunders.
Well, Reese, thanks a lot here inside the stadium. I'm with a couple of guys who know something about championships. Of course, Lou Holtz, who won in 1988, and Tim Tebow, who has a pair of championship rings. And, guys, the slow starts of the game, and I wonder if it's because coaches are trying to put in new things. Is it because the players are nervous? Is it because your cards weren't there? What's the reason they're off to the slow starts?
Because you're playing a better opponent than you normally do. But here's the other thing, is field position. You receive the kickoff, chances are you're going to start on your 25-yard line. The chance of you scoring when you're on your 25-yard line is 1 in 13. If you get the ball on the other end of the field, your chance of scoring are 1 in 3. So you don't make a first down, you punt, the other team starts on their 25-yard line. In addition to that, the first 5 plays, I'm going to run 5 different formations. I want to see how you're going to defend the formation. I'm not going to do anything drastic, but I want to find out something on every play, how you're going to do something. The second time we have the ball, I know how we're going to attack you.
It's also the biggest moment of your life, and you're nervous, and you got to get a feel for the game. I remember back in 08 when we're playing Oklahoma, they came out in that game and did something different than we had scouted the entire year. So they changed it up, so we had to go to the sidelines and make adjustments, and we really couldn't make great adjustments until halftime. But you saw at halftime when we took the field the second half, we were able to really dominate offensively because we knew what they were doing. So we really need to be aware of what these teams changed in the first half and how they're able to adjust to it going into the second half.
You want to get a knockout early. You want to strike early to use a boxing analogy. So as you look at these 2 coaches, Mark Helfrich, of course, of Oregon, and Urban Meyer at Ohio State, which guy has an advantage in choosing and scheming up his play? And is he coming out with a scripted 10 plays or so?
I think Oregon will. No, they don't say we're going to run these 10 plays. They say we're going to run these 10 plays, but according to down and distance, etc. But let's remember this. 2 weeks ago, Urban fell behind 21-6 in the first quarter. They found a way to come back. I think that Oregon's going to come out there and really put a full-court press on, and I think that they will score some in the first quarter.
And Ohio State is a great second-half team because Urban has made great adjustments, and Oregon is more of a start-fast team. So I think for Ohio State, they really need to be prepared early for a lot of the play-action passes that Oregon's going to present.
The main thing Oregon's going to adjust is their chin strap. They're going to go play their own game. They ain't going to make any other tight that chin strap.
We certainly have seen from these two teams that falling behind early is not going to be a problem for either one of them. They can get their offenses going. Clearly, Mark Helfrich has been a tremendous story for the Oregon Ducks. Few people thought he would have a chance to even get the head coaching job. He sat down with Gene Wojciechowski and opens up about one of the most difficult experiences in life.
Jeff Hawkins, who was our director of football operations at the time, came down and he had this look on his face that, I knew something immediately was not good. My dad had passed away that night.
Brent, remember at the start of the year when we were up there in Eugene and US Phil Knight about the new helmets and the new uniforms? Well, they unveiled them here in Hawaii. This is the new logo. Look at the brand new jerseys that'll be worn by the Oregon Ducks starting in 1999.
They were unlike anything we'd ever seen before. Jaw-dropping, anti-establishment, brand-defining, and nobody knew what to make of them.
It looked like Spider-Man on steroids. And so recruits started to talk about Oregon uniforms and said, I want to go to Oregon.
Decades later, we still treat each Oregon uniform debut like a Paris fashion show.
People from back home always call me like, man, what y'all wearing this week? What y'all coming with? So I think it's, the fans love it.
Oregon has a date with Ohio State. As always, the Ducks will make a fashion statement, but this time it's not about what they wear, but what they do.
Ducks going to go with a clean white and gray look tonight for the championship game, and there are the Oregon team buses waiting outside the Gaylord Texan. They're going to leave and head this way toward AT&T Stadium in about 25 minutes and scheduled to arrive about 5:15 Central Time. Inside that locker room tonight, that's where those uniforms will be waiting, and the Ducks hope that what they do once they're wearing them will fall in line exactly with what they've done offensively since Chip Kelly arrived in 2007. They've really changed the game. There's a lot of flash. There's a lot of sizzle, which as Gene Wojciechowski joins us now, I would say flash and sizzle, Gene, that might be the anti-adjectives for Mark Helfrich.
Well, that's true, Reese. Mark Helfrich will have family and friends here at this national championship game. And, of course, back in his hometown of Coos Bay, Oregon, everybody will be rooting for him. But there is one person, his dad, Mike, who was there from the very beginning. In a perfect world, he'd be here tonight. And in many ways, says Mark Helfrich, he is.
Oregon earns the Pac-12 championship.
34 unanswered points to turn a close game into a beatdown.
Rose Bowl champion, the Oregon Ducks.
There are moments and images that mean something to Oregon coach Mark Helfrich. And then there is a moment and a photograph that means everything.
It's him and his grandson, and he's kind of walking him into my high school stadium. It's kind of everything, that he encapsulated as a father, as a grandfather.
If a son is supposed to be a reflection of his father, then Mark Helfrich reflects the very best of his dad, Mike.
The humility, probably number one. Never talking about himself, always putting the praise on others, keeping an upbeat demeanor all the time. Those type of traits, I believe, Mike lent to Mark.
Definitely work ethic. I think integrity. Is a guy that worked really hard, but also, I think had fun with how he went about things.
Mike used to take Mark to Oregon's Autzen Stadium as a kid. Years later, the kid became Oregon's offensive coordinator, and the dad became his biggest fan. Mike was there with advice and a bear hug after the Ducks beat Missouri State on September 17th, 2011.
Touchdown, LaMichael James.
All the things he did that I can remember, he never once told me in my life, I love you, but he's at, every game. We had one of those moments after the game where it was kind of, hey, congratulations and this, but hey, you should have done this kind of a deal. And it was, hey, you know, see you next week.
The next week, Oregon and Mike Helfrich traveled to Arizona.
I called him during the day on Saturday and didn't hook up. It wasn't that abnormal that we weren't able to meet before the game.
Touchdown, LaMichael James in Oregon. The Ducks rolling.
We came into the locker room and had a big win against Arizona. Jeff Hawkins, who was our director of football operations at the time, came down and he had this look on his face that, you know, I knew something immediately was not good. He kind of said, hey, I need to talk to you. And so we went out in this kind of an entrance tunnel into the stadium. University of Arizona police officer kind of told me what had happened, and my dad had passed away that night.
Mike Helfrich had died in his sleep of natural causes at a Tucson hotel room. He was 68.
There was a police car there. Mark was already in the car. And I climbed in, and it was just shock, total shock. Shed some tears. It was very, very difficult, very difficult.
2 years later, when he returned to Arizona, this time as Oregon's head coach, he sought out the exact spot where he'd first learned of his father's death.
Just to kind of, I don't know, confront it maybe? I don't know what the right wording is. To remember that night and remember everything that is great about him. I don't know if it's something to overcome or what.
Almost every day he walks past where father and son had their final hug. And that photograph, it has been with him ever since. In coaching boxes and in his back pocket on a 2-point conversion sheet.
I have that kind of internal smile, I guess you could say that feeling every time. That's something that I'll keep with me forever. I'll never not have that with me.
Oregon assistant Steve Greatwood, who we just saw in the piece, said he never heard Mike brag about Mark publicly. That wasn't his style. Instead, Mike would do the little things like show up at the Oregon football facility with fresh seafood that he just caught on a fishing trip and serve it buffet style to the entire coaching staff. That was his style, understated. And Reese, like father, like son.
Indeed, Gene, wonderful story, and Mark Helfrich has fit in extraordinarily well as the head coach at Oregon, has an opportunity to bring this program its first national championship, and two of the gentlemen who are largely responsible for lifting Oregon into the realm of being a national power, our colleague Mike Bellotti, Hall of Famer, and head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chip Kelly. Chip, Mark Helfrich succeeded you. What did you think about the direction of the program and his ability to lead it when he took over for you?
It was a no-brainer. I mean, Mark's special. He's one of those rare guys. He's one of the most intelligent people I've ever been around. He's an outstanding communicator. You know, when he has a point, he can make it succinctly. I just sat there when we were in staff meetings and he would say something. I was like, wow, that was pretty sharp. I got to write that down. That was a good one. I mean, he has a knack and he has his own style, and I think the players thrive off of that. You watch how calm and cool and collected this team is, no matter what the situation, and I think it's a reflection of him. I think he's done an unbelievable job.
Now, you hired him when he was on his way to be an orthopedic surgeon or something and got him into football coaching. You understand how this program has grown and been built over, I guess, since 1990 or right in that area where 21 of the 28 bowl appearances have come. What would it mean for the program to win a national championship?
Well, it's the validation that the program needs. They've been there before and came up a little bit short. And some people don't remember that game being very, very close, which it was. But the reality is, for now, I think Oregon has to win a national championship to be considered in the vein of all those great programs. I mean, they've been there. 4 straight BCS games under Chip. I mean, it's pretty unheard of. But still, I think people believe that they're knocking at the door.
What do you think? Is there a different type of validation that goes with actually winning the last game?
I think in a lot of people's minds, and mine no, because I know those players and I know those coaches and the staff that Mike brought me to, and those guys are still there. They're champions no matter what anybody says. Every single day, the way they handle players, the way they go about their business, it's a classy operation. It always has been a classy operation. I was humbled when Mike called me for an opportunity to go coach there. Mike passed it on to me. I was there for a short time. Health has taken it to the next level, and I think it'll be a program that it's gonna last over time. That's the one thing that Mike, starting with Rich Brooks to Mike, I was there. We all rent our spots as coaches. It goes on to the next guy, and they're just taking it to a place where I think everybody knows it should be.
I agree. I think we all believe from within that we are champions, that we are winners. The problem is the outside world may not believe that, and I see it a lot more now talking about football on a worldwide basis. The reality is, I think for fans across the nation, Oregon must win this.
I think there's one guy outside of the Oregon family who believes in the program and believes it's elite and believes it's a championship program. And in fact, his quote winds up on the wall in the Oregon football building. If you sit and watch a game on Saturday night and watch highlights, pretty mesmerizing to watch Oregon play a college football game right now. That quote from Urban Meyer, now head coach at Ohio State. Now, Urban understands the Oregon philosophy, perhaps it would seem as well as anyone outside of the Oregon family. What advantage can that bring to him tonight, understanding to at least some degree how Oregon operates?
Urban's is one of the all-time coaches in college football, and he's become a good friend of mine. I know Mike's really close with him. I spent a lot of time early in my career visiting him at Florida and discussing the game. I went to Ohio State and watched spring practice this year. He's come out to watch us practice. When he was an announcer, he came out to our games at Oregon. I think he has a great understanding and appreciation of it, but I don't think he's gained any insight into terms of, they call it West Right Slot 322Y stick. They doesn't know the terminology, doesn't know that. I think he has a great respect for them, just like Oregon does for Ohio State.
This thing has come full circle. When I decided to go to the spread offense was because of what I saw Urban doing at Utah and what I saw happening at Northwestern. So actually, it's full circle that he should meet the Oregon team right now with them both playing a similar style of offense, although be it different. Like I said, Urban Meyer is a great coach, and he's done tremendous things, and everybody mimics somebody else.
Oh, sure, and coaches are notorious for taking ideas from each other. When I was in Columbus in August, Urban talked a lot about what he had learned from you, some of the cutting-edge things, both from a philosophical standpoint, training standpoint, and so forth. I just wondered, though, from a fan standpoint, did you ever think, I might have told him too much, I shared too much with him?
And he's embellishing, because I learned more from him than he did from me. So, but it's what happens in our sport. It's the great thing about our sport. We visited Coach Brown when we were down at Texas and got a chance to spend time with him. That's what college football coaches do. They share ideas. Usually it's not someone you're going to play that year, but you're going to go around and visit and spend time with them and talk philosophies. And I think at some point in time, this is such a great game. You think about you got to give back, and if you have a chance to help somebody, you're going to help them because they help us.
And you rarely go wholesale. It's not like I'm going to go full in on this. I'm going to take little bits and pieces that I think fit my personnel, my philosophy. I'm going to put that in there and let it go.
Hey, you guys both taught Helfrich well, too, by the way, because he said this week, he goes, look, we share some things, but we gather more than we output, right?
We're information gatherers, not information givers.
That's right. Chip Kelly, Mike Bellani set the foundation for this. Could be a championship night for Oregon. We'll hear from Chip a little bit later on as we continue to count down toward kickoff of this first national championship game, the college football playoff era. You know all about Marcus Mariota. He's won a Heisman Trophy. His counterpart tonight will be Cardell Jones, who had to overcome a ton of tough obstacles.
Cardell Jones would not be a starting quarterback. He'd be an asterisk.
3 quarterbacks walk into a season. No, it's not a joke. And for them, it's not funny. The first, who didn't reach the season. The second, who didn't finish the season. The third, in the biggest game of any season.
Jones let it fly, and he's got Devin Smith. Touchdown.
From the returning star to the super sub to the latest leader. It's not funny. It's fact. It's not comedy. It's drama.
Urban Meyer and the Buckeyes getting on the bus at the Hilton Anadolu, scheduled to arrive roughly 40 minutes from now to start pregame preparations for this national championship clash with Oregon. The Buckeyes rolling in, impressive victories over Wisconsin and Alabama. getting them into position to win this national championship if they can win one more against Oregon, and one more with Cardale Jones as the starting quarterback. You know, late in the season, Cardale didn't do something he was supposed to do. It was a minor thing. Coaches threatened to take tickets away from him from the Michigan game. He said, I don't play anyway. Well, he ended up playing that game and two more, and boy, has he played against Alabama, not only doing it big play passing, but taking that 6'5", 250-ish pound frame and running over people, throwing deep balls, and putting up huge numbers down the gut of the game after a little bit of a slow start. But Cardale Jones, prior to this season, was best known for this tweet a couple of years ago saying, "Why should we have to go to class if we came here to play football? We ain't come to play school. Classes are pointless." Now, all of his teammates sort of tell us, hey, that wasn't the smartest thing you did, Cardale. He has matured since then. He recently became a father just a few days ago. His daughter turned 2 months old. And since Cardale Jones, with a wealth of physical talent, became the starting quarterback, his QBR is solid at 78. Although he just graded out okay, didn't quite grade out a champion in the game against Alabama, and says he expects to play better. Inside AT&T Stadium, we'd like to welcome our colleagues from Good Morning America and Robin Roberts, standing in that Ohio State end zone where Robin, Cardale would love to get his team off in tonight.
Oh, yes, and by the way, it's a lot warmer inside the stadium than where you guys are right now. But, you know, Reese, when you stop and think about it, it's hard to believe that just a few weeks ago, not many had even heard of Cardale Jones. But as you said, those big wins have helped lead the Buckeyes to this field tonight. Now, many believe that he came out of nowhere, but in fact, he did come from somewhere, the east side of Cleveland, and he probably would still be there if not for two very special people. Tom Rinaldi is back with that story.
Cardale Jones is going to make that first start for Ohio State. Steps back.
He played really well. I think he surprised a lot of people.
You know, you want to know the player, but you don't want to know the kid. So if you don't know the kid, you'll never have a player.
To know the kid that was Cardale Jones, start here, the east side of Cleveland, where he grew up the youngest of 6 to a single mother.
Not knowing some days where you're going to lay your head, not knowing some days where your next meal is going to come from. I remember the guy get killed on our front porch. It just was rough at times.
For Jones, one place has been a beacon amidst the blight.
Make sure that you're preparing yourselves for what's going on after graduation.
Ginn Academy, the only all-male public high school in Ohio, was founded by Ted Ginn Sr., a football coach, mentor, and shepherd for the 350 boys who come here.
A lot of diamonds that people just walk around and just look over because they don't look good. So I pick them up and I polish them up and shape them up. And then everybody say, where did he come from? He would just land on the ground. You didn't think it was nothing.
We are leadership service for all mankind. Everybody else?
When you were sitting in those bleachers at the academy, what was the dream?
Just to, man, get out them bleachers, man.
While the academy helped Jones improve academically,
That means every day that you come in here, I'm gonna expect you to learn something.
and while he thrived athletically, those around him still worried about life after school and after practice.
They got to a point where any time of the day or the night, you might can see Cardale walking the streets. I know that he was at risk.
Risk met chance in the fall of 2008 when Ginn introduced his 15-year-old quarterback to Michelle Nash, a juvenile court corrections officer.
Coach Ginn said, "This is Miss Michelle." He said, "She's going to be your mentor." And he just smiled. I just saw something in his eyes. I just seemed like a sweet kid that needed something.
That introduction changed Jones' life. Just a month after meeting Nash, he called her at 2 a.m.
I answered the phone, and he said, "Miss Michelle, I don't want to live like this no more. Would you come get me?"
I went off in the house.
where I usually would probably be laying or sitting right there. You know, bullet goes right through the wall. And I just was like, you know, I don't want to be around stuff like this no more.
Jones would live with Nash for the next 3 years.
She started off as like a mentor, and she just like grew basically into my mom.
And that's what he calls me. It's a blessing. That's a word I didn't think I would ever hear, because I'm unable to have children.
If everybody believes I would have recruited you, Cardell.
3 seasons after leaving Ginn Academy, Cardell Jones now leads the Buckeyes in their quest to win a championship. From a kid at risk to a man in the light. When you watch him Monday night, what will you see?
I see a diamond.
A diamond that hopes to shine on this field tonight. Miss Michelle, so influential in his life in the Ginn Academy, and he is staying in touch with them and connected with them, isn't he?
He's going to have a lot of family here tonight, but it's an extended family all the way back to East Cleveland. And when you consider, after his first start having such a dominant win against Wisconsin, he could have really gone anywhere the next day. Instead, he chooses to go back to Ginn Academy. They call an assembly, and he addresses all the students there, 350 strong. He looks at them and he says, I sat where you sit now. And if I can do this, if I can mature, if I can grow, if I can strive, you can too. So we know a lot about Marcus Mariota in this game. Right? Most outstanding player in college football. But don't sleep on Cardell Jones and his own journey. Really the pride of East Cleveland.
Absolutely, and they will be cheering. My mother's from Akron, so
there you go.
close in the area, so I know
there you go.
They're going to be cheering loudly. Let's get back now to Reese.
All right, Robin, a remarkable story from Cardell Jones, a guy who's full of talent, who took a prep year to go to Ohio State because that was his dream. We're joined now by Tim Tebow. Tim, I know you got a chance to spend some time with Cardell Jones recently. What were your impressions of his demeanor?
What an awesome kid. And the thing that impressed me is how much this kid has changed. His first workout at Ohio State, he passed out in the warm-up within 10 minutes of the warm-out. But this kid decided to change. He went from 217 pounds and 20% body fat to 251 pounds and 10% body fat. And now his legs are strong. He can squat 495 pounds. His mentality is different. He likes going to class. He likes watching film. This week, one day, he spent 7 hours in the film room. He has changed, he has improved, and it's impressed me.
And he's been impressive on the field as well, Tim, as Todd Blackledge joins us now. So, Todd, what do you expect to see from Cardell Jones on the field tonight?
Well, I think he's going to play the same kind of game that he's played his first 2 starts. And that is really a big part of that is trusting his running game. The offensive line has improved. Ezekiel Elliott has become a force down the stretch here for the Ohio State offense. And he needs to play within that offense. If he does that and trusts that, he can just make the same kind of plays he's been making. He's got a huge arm. He has the ability to throw the ball down the field better than any of the other quarterbacks that played before him at Ohio State. That's his strength. He also is a very capable runner when things break down, when there's nothing open downfield. He's big and strong and pretty fast with straight ahead speed to tuck it and run. As long as he plays within the offense, within their system, doesn't try to go out and outperform Marcus Mariota, I think we'll see the same kind of outstanding performance from Cardell Jones tonight as we've seen in his first 2 starts.
Todd, he's handled the blitz well. He's done a great job with Devin Smith, and now Cardell Jones and the rest of the Buckeyes are on the bus, and they're headed toward Arlington and AT&T Stadium to pursue the national championship tonight. And before we put a bow on this season at the end of the year, we take a look back at the best moments we saw in the images of the year.
This is Sparta!
Let's take a look at our Saturday selections recap brought to you by Chevrolet. And look at Coach Corso leading the way nearly 70%, going 99 and 44, slipping past Dez and Kirk. We're quite up to speed with Corso. Time now for a little entertainment. The Grammy Award-winning Zac Brown Band is here performing one of their hit songs, Dress Blues.
Can you see from your window? I can't see anything from mine. Flags on the side of the highway, scripture on grocery store signs. Maybe 18's too early, maybe 30 or 40 is too. Get your chance to make peace with a man, for he sent down his angels for you. Mamas and grandmamas love you, 'cause that's all they know how to do. You never planned on the bombs in the sand, or sleeping in your dress blue. Said this song would be funny when you came back home in a week. You turned 22 and we'd celebrate you in a bar or a tent by the creek. Your baby would just about be here. Your very last tour would be up. Back there all dressing in black, drinking sweet tea and styrofoam cups. Mamas and grandmamas love you. American boys hate to lose. You never planned on the bombs in the sand, or sleeping in your dress blue. Gymnasium's ready, full of flowers and old legionnaires. Nobody showed up to protest, they just sniffle and stare. There's red, white, and blue in the rafters. There's silent old men from the Corps. They say when they shipped you away to give all in some god-awful war.